stage, and also Vijay Raj Mallika. शांतापुरा जी प्रख्यात मैथिली लेखिका, कलाकार, फिल्म निर्माता और लैंगिक अधिकार कार्यकर्ता हैं। आपके कई लेख और कविताएं प्रकाशित हैं एवं आपने फिल्म निर्माण भी किया। आप ऑल मणिपुर गोपीमांडी एसोसिएशन की सचिव हैं एवं इससे जुड़ी हुई हैं। आप इससे सॉलिडेरिटी एंड एक्शन अगेंस्ट HIV इन्फेक्शन इन इंडिया साथी से भी जुड़ी हुई। आप एशिया पैसिफिक ट्रांस नेटवर्क APTN और RFSL स्वीडन की फेलो रही। आपने मणिपुर की रूपा अमायपी और उनकी परंपरा के अनुभवों पर कई लेख लिखे हैं। आपकी प्रकाशित कृतियों में शामिल है गेनिंग फुल सिटीजनशिप ऑफ मणिपुरी इंडिजिनस रूपीमांडी एंड रूपामान। विजयराज मल्लिका जी प्रख्यात मलयालम लेखिका, शिक्षक, सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता, प्रेरक वक्ता, गीतकार और कार्यकर्ता हैं। आपको अराली पुरस्कार, लीला मेनन साहित्यिक पुरस्कार और युवा काल साहित्य वायलाल कविता पुरस्कार सहित कई सारे सम्मान प्राप्त हैं। आप सहज इंटरनेशनल के संस्थापक हैं, जो भारत का पहला ट्रांसजेंडर वैकल्पिक शिक्षण केंद्र है। आपके प्रमुख प्रकाशनों में शामिल है दैवखिंड के मकर, आनंदी और मल्लिका वसंतम etc। दीपक जी आने नहीं है। मैं आप सभी की ओर से सब वक्ताओं का स्वागत करता हूं और पवन ढल जी से अनुरोध करता हूं कि वे सत्र का आरंभ करें।
Hello. Deepak, please cover the stage. Very good morning to everyone. I hope everybody had a restful day yesterday. Good to see bright, cheerful faces. I wish there were some more people. Hopefully, they will join us in a while. I'd like to begin my little introduction with a small reading. The topic of our panel is Quest for Identity, and I think this reading symbolizes that topic quite well. So, in Hyderabad in the 90s, there was a queer support group called Sathi, and in 1995, they had come out with a declaration of freedom, which was a statement that they had come out with to express solidarity with the community and to advocate the cause of the community. So this statement has been published in an anthology called Gulabi Baghi, which has been edited by my dear friend and fellow activist Owais. Some of you would know him as Owais Khan. So the statement says, on this, the 28th day of May 1995, we, the LGBT people, having solemnly resolved formally to give to ourselves our birthright, the right to be who we are, the right to love whom we do, the right to live as we choose, all the time accepting and respecting these same rights of our fellow beings, declare ourselves free of all forces which do not allow us these self-evident rights, and demand from our fellow citizens of the sovereign democratic Republic of India and this, our beautiful and beloved one earth, to stand with us and rejoice in the celebration of being and loving. This statement is something which I would request all my fellow speakers to elaborate on. But before that, I also want to share something a small piece of statistic. Uh, Anil Pradhan, he's a Kolkata-based gender and sexuality researcher and a friend. He has actually compiled a database of Indian queer literature, although it is only in English. But this compilation is an invaluable piece of resource which shows how far we have come as India's queer movements, as well as India's queer literary movements. So his database shows that between 1976 and 2022, there have been at least 592 books, queer themed books, LGBT themed books, which have been published in India. But this is a figure only for English. It's a very happy thought that I see that there are more and more queer themed publications coming out in different languages, whether Meithei, Kannada, Bengali, Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, Malayalam. I would actually request Sahitya Academy to, build up on this and perhaps, help the community compile a database, a living, dynamic database of queer themed publications coming out in different languages. I think that would be a very important step for the community as well as for larger society to see that what the queer concerns are and how far the movement has come, what are the gaps that still need to be addressed. So with this, I would ask each speaker of the panel to talk about the basic theme. What is this quest for identity? What does it mean to them as a queer writer? How have they pursued it through their own writings? And they are most welcome to share a piece of their writing to elaborate on their quest for identity. Thank you. Okay, I would request my dear friend and fellow activist through thick and thin, Santa Kurai, to first share some thoughts.
Thank you. A very good morning to all the beautiful people around here. And first of all, I would like to express my gratitude towards Sahitya Academy for all this prolonged effort that makes this conclave happen for the consistent years, consecutive 3 years, which is a dream for us. And now the Sahitya Academy has fulfilled our dreams because we have good writers within the community, but due to the lack of recognition, we have not been able to get such big opportunity, and it's really big step for the recognition of our existence as a citizen of India, and I really thank Sahitya Academy for this. And regarding identity, and claiming identity is something which is very difficult for every individual. And in the context of marginalized community like transgender, lesbian, gay, bisexual, we are again more in the difficult situation because we have been rejected and pushed to the margin of the society, and trying to come and emerge in the center is something we always find challenges. And the other thing of finding and claiming our identity and the difficulties is the homogeneity of identity. Like, I come from a periphery and my identity is associated with a lot of socio-cultural, socio-political and socio-environment realities which cannot be segregated from my transgender identity, which I think is very important. And when trying to reflect those narratives, when I'm telling my story, there are things which really difficult for me to find a proper translation of the words that I'm trying to convey to the audience. Like for example, in the Yellow Sparrow, there are Manipuri languages which are there, but when I try to translate in English, I found it very difficult because the actual translation is not there in English language, which I feel like if I translate it, literally translate in English, it will lose the literal values of what I'm trying to say. So this is what I felt, and in the beginning, I had this conflict with my body and sex assigned at birth, and then after I got exposed to the larger mainstream LGBTIQ community, I found again very difficult to position myself in the larger queer society and community because of the language and cultural belt I belong to and where I come from. So that matters a lot. And according to me, quest for identity is not about trans identity or your sexuality identity. It also means a lot. It also relates and also correlates with your social environment experiences, which one cannot live alone. So these are the few things that I found in my writings and also that I found and experienced in my life when finding my transgender identity. Yeah, thank you so much.
That was short and sweet, Chanda. So we'll come back to you again. There are more questions that I have in mind. But next I would request Deepan Chakraborty to share his thoughts, and I would like all of you to give Deepan a big hand. This is his first experience of speaking in a literary event, if I'm not mistaken. So Deepan, would you like to speak from here or from the stage?
Give me. On this regards, I would like to say that I am a trans person, I am a trans man, and yes, I am different, and different so-called from the so-called normal people, and I feel proud that I am different, and I am special. I was born with a special brain, and it's very rare. I'm special because I'm having the power to change the so-called normal norms of the society. नॉर्मल लोग जन्म लेते हैं, कुछ काम खुद के लिए करते हैं, फिर जिंदगी में बहुत कुछ कर लिया, सोच के दुनिया छोड़ चले जाते हैं. और मैं स्पेशल हूँ क्योंकि मैं सिर्फ खुद को नहीं, बाकी मेरे जैसे स्पेशल लोगों को हिम्मत जुटाने की काम करता हूँ. I'm writing not for myself. I'm writing for those people or section of peoples who are also special just like me. My inspiration is my struggle, my pain, my rejection, and untouchability. When I was lost my job due to my gender identity and searching for new job, I faced more than 35 interviews where I experienced how much hatred is prevailing for a transgender person in the society. In my blog, I always try to write about my journey and others' journey so that I can help others to fight back. When I started my writings, I chose my mother language to reach more people in our community in West Bengal as well as Northeast, because I born and brought up in Assam. It's in Northeast state. Can I read out some? Yeah. I'm writing and my personal blog is there. I'm writing in Bengali, so I read out in Bengali. এক অন্য পুরুষের আখ্যান, আমার শৈশব ও কৈশোরের দিনগুলি। প্রতি ক্ষেত্রেই দেখলাম আমার ভালো লাগা বা পছন্দের বিষয়গুলো থেকে আমাকে সরিয়ে রাখা হচ্ছে। তবে সেটা উদ্দেশ্য প্রণোদিতভাবে ছিল তা কিন্তু নয়। কারণ আমার মা, বাবা এবং ঠাম্মা দেখে এসেছেন যে সমাজ এবং ধর্ম নারী পুরুষকে কর্ম, পোশাক, বলনে ও চলনে এক প্রকার ছক কষে দিয়েছে, এবং সেখান থেকে বেরিয়ে আসার পরিসর বা সামাজিক পরিস্থিতি বা পরিকাঠামো ছিল না, বা বেরিয়ে আসার কথা তারা কোনোদিন ভাবতেই পারেননি, কারণ এটাই তাদের কাছে স্বাভাবিক অবস্থা ছিল। তবে এই কথা সত্যি, সন্তান হিসেবে আমি ভীষণ আদরের ছিলাম। আমি কখনো দেখিনি দাদা বা ভাইয়ের থেকে আমাকে কম গুরুত্ব দেওয়া হয়েছে কখনো। আমি আমার মতো ছুটে বেড়ানোর যে মানসিক চাহিদা, সেটা কাউকে বুঝিয়ে উঠতে পারছিলাম না। একটা ভয় তাড়া করছিল। আমি যদি কখনো লুকিয়ে লুকিয়ে দাদার প্যান্ট বা বাবার শার্ট পরতাম এবং কোনোভাবে মা দেখে ফেলতো, তাহলে প্রচণ্ড বকুনি খেতে হতো। ভয়ে মাকে কখনো বলতে পারিনি, তুমি যে পোশাকগুলো পরতে বলো সেটা আমার পছন্দ নয়। আমার মনে আছে মা আমাকে ঠান্ডার দিনে পরবার জন্য একটি ড্রেস বানিয়ে দেন, এবং সেটি ছেলে মেয়ে উভয়ই পরতে পারে। সেই ড্রেসটা আমার ভীষণ প্রিয় ছিল। এরকম হয়েছে প্রচণ্ড গরমে চুপ করে আলমারির থেকে ড্রেসটা বের করে খেলতে চলে গেলাম। প্রচণ্ড গরমে যে ভালো লাগতো। বাড়ি আসার পর মা বকুনি খাবো জেনেও এটা অজানা আনন্দ মেতে উঠতাম। ধীরে ধীরে আমার বন্ধুত্বের পরিসর ছোট হতে শুরু করলো। আমার বয়সের মেয়েরা পুতুল খেলা বা রান্নাবাটি খেলা নিয়ে ব্যস্ত হয়ে পড়লো, যেটা আমার ভীষণ অপছন্দের খেলা ছিল। আর আমার সমবয়সী ছেলেরা বা একটু বড়রা ক্রিকেট বা ফুটবল নিয়ে ব্যস্ত, যে খেলা আমার ভীষণ পছন্দের, কিন্তু সেখানে আমি নিষিদ্ধ ছিলাম। দিন যায়, মাস যায়, কখনো হেরে যাচ্ছি, আবার স্বপ্ন দেখছি আমার মতো করে বেঁচে থাকার কারণ খুঁজে বের করে উঠে দাঁড়িয়েছি। ছোটবেলায় খুব কাছের মানুষদের দ্বারা যৌন হেনস্থার শিকার হয়েছি। বলতে পারিনি কাউকে, কারণ জানতাম না এ ধরনের ছোঁয়া বা কার্যকলাপ যৌন হেনস্থার আওতায় পড়ে। আমাদের একজন পারিবারিক ডাক্তার ছিলেন। তিনি মাঝে মাঝে আমাদের বাড়িতে আসতেন। এমনই এক সন্ধ্যায় তিনি আসেন এবং মা বাবা আমার এক শারীরিক সমস্যার কথা ওনাকে জানান। তিনি পরীক্ষা নিরীক্ষা করে ওষুধ লিখে দেন। তারপর থেকে তিনি যখনই আসতেন, তিনি আসতেন আমার প্যান্ট খুলে টর্চ জ্বালিয়ে কি পরীক্ষা করতেন আমি বুঝতে পারতাম না। আমি যত বলতাম আমার কিছু হয়নি, তিনি শুনতে চাইতেন না, জোর করে দেখতেন। আমার ভীষণ খারাপ লাগতো। মাকে বলেছিলাম কিনা মনে নেই, তবে এরপর উনি আসবেন শুনলেই ঠাম্মার ঘরে গিয়ে লুকিয়ে পড়তাম। আমার রেলওয়ে কোয়ার্টারে থাকতাম। আমাদের পাশের কোয়ার্টারের এক দাদা ওদের বাড়ি গেলেই আমার প্যান্টের ভেতর হাত ঢুকিয়ে দিত। এখন বুঝতে পারি এই কাজগুলো যৌন হেনস্থার আওতায় পড়ে। মাকে কথাগুলো বলেছিলাম কিনা মনে নেই, এবং মা আমাকে কিভাবে সাহায্য করেছিল মনে করতে পারছি না। আরেকটি ঘটনা না বললেই নয়, আমার এক পাড়ার কাকু কাকিমার ভাগ্নে আসতো, আমার থেকে অনেক বড়, নাম ভুলে গেছি। সেই সময় কাকু কাকিমার 3 ছেলে, আমার দাদা সবাই মিলে ক্রিকেট খেলতো। তখন আমিও খেলার সুযোগ পেতাম। এই কটা দিন আমার কাছে উৎসব মনে হতো। সেরকমই একটি দিন সারা দিন আমরা সবাই মিলে ক্রিকেট খেলেছি। পরের দিন আমাদের সপরিবারে পুরী যাওয়ার কথা। মা সব গোছাচ্ছিল। আমরা 3 জন একসাথে ঘরে ঢুকি, কিন্তু দেখলাম মা আমাকেই বকলো, দাদার ভাইকে কিছু বললো না। মনে মনে ভীষণ কষ্ট পেলাম, কিন্তু কিছু বললাম না। বিকেলবেলা মাকে কিছু না বলে খেলতে চলে যাই। রাস্তার এক পাড়ার দাদাকে সাইকেল চালাতে দেখে সাইকেলে বসে পড়ি। সেও নতুন চালানো শিখেছিল, তাই কিছু দূর গিয়ে আর শেষ রক্ষা করতে পারেনি, দুজনেই পড়ে যাই। আমার ডান হাত ভেঙে 2 টুকরো। সত্যি বলছি, ভাঙার ব্যথা ততটা বুঝতে পারিনি যতটা নিজেকে কষ্ট দিয়ে আনন্দ পেয়েছিলাম। তখন আমি ক্লাস 3 বা 4-এ পড়ি। আমি তখন কোনো কারণে কষ্ট পেয়েছি বা নিজের মনের কষ্টটা বোঝাতে না পারার অবস্থা থেকে বেরিয়ে আসার পথ হিসেবে বেছে নিয়েছিলাম সেলফ হার্ম। এখন বুঝতে পারি এই পথ সম্পূর্ণ ভুল। এখন হয়তো এই পরিস্থিতির থেকে বেরিয়ে আসার জন্য চিকিৎসকের সাহায্য পাওয়া যায়, কিন্তু আমার ছোটবেলায় সেটা সম্ভব ছিল না। সেই সচেতনতারও অভাব ছিল। এইভাবে শৈশবের প্রতিকূল অনুকূল দিনগুলো অতিক্রম করে কৈশোরে পা রাখা। কৈশোরের যুদ্ধটা আরো জটিল ছিল। আমি তখন সবে 18-য় পা দিয়েছি। দিন দিন নিজের শরীরের নিয়ে অস্বস্তি বেড়েই চলেছিল। একদিন মাকে ডেকে বললাম, আমি ভীষণ কষ্ট পাচ্ছি, আমি এভাবে থাকতে পারছি না, আমি শরীর পরিবর্তন করে ছেলে হয়ে যাব। মা শুনে কিন্তু রাগ করেনি, বরং তখন আমাকে মা বলল, তোর বাবার সাথে কথা বলবো। সেইভাবেই সেই সময় মনে হয়েছিল আমার স্বপ্ন সত্যি হতে চলেছে খুব শিগগিরই। মা তারপর বাবার সাথে কথা বলে আমার নতুন অস্বস্তির কথা নিয়ে, যেহেতু এই বিষয়টি সম্পূর্ণ নতুন আমার বাবা মায়ের কাছে, তাই হায়দ্রাবাদের একজন ডাক্তার যিনি আমার মায়ের চিকিৎসা করছিলেন তার সাথে আমার পারিবারিক সম্পর্ক তৈরি হয়েছিল। বাবা তখন পুরো বিষয়টি লিখে ডাক্তারকে জানান। এর কিছুদিন পর সেই ডাক্তার প্রত্যুত্তরে বাবাকে হায়দ্রাবাদ একজন সাইকিয়াট্রিস্টের নাম দেন এবং সেই ডাক্তারের পরামর্শ নেওয়ার কথা বলেন। মায়ের চিকিৎসার জন্য প্রতি 6 মাস অন্তর অন্তর আমাদের হায়দ্রাবাদ যেতে হতো এবং সেভাবেই বাবা পরিকল্পনা করেন আমার হায়দ্রাবাদে পৌঁছই। আমি এক অজানা আনন্দের মধ্যে ছিলাম, এবার হয়তো আমার স্বপ্ন বাস্তবায়িত হতে চলেছে। আমি ভেবেই রেখেছিলাম আমার এই দীর্ঘ প্রতীক্ষিত সময় হয়তো আমার হাতের মুঠোয় আসতে চলেছে। সময়, দিনক্ষণ এতটা মনে নেই, তবে এতটুকু মনে আছে আমরা হায়দ্রাবাদ পৌঁছানোর পরদিন সেই সাইকিয়াট্রিস্টের সাথে কনসালটেশনের জন্য যাই। যতটুকু মনে আছে, বাঞ্জারা হিলসে ডাক্তারের চেম্বার। ডাক্তার প্রথমে মা বাবাকে ডেকে নেন। মা বাবার সাথে ডাক্তার কি কথা বলেছেন আমি জানতাম না। তারপর আমার সাথে কথা বলার জন্য ভেতরে ডেকে নিয়ে যান। ভেতরে গিয়ে ডাক্তারের সাথে কথা বলে বুঝতে পারলাম আমি ভুল জায়গায় এসে পড়েছি। তিনি আমাকে বারবার বোঝানোর চেষ্টা করলেন আমি যেটা ভাবছি সেটা সম্পূর্ণ ভুল এবং এটি একটি মানসিক সমস্যা, যার চিকিৎসার মাধ্যমে সম্পূর্ণ সুস্থ হওয়া সম্ভব। তারপর তিনি মা বাবা এবং আমাকে একসাথে ভেতরে ডেকে নেন। সেই চেম্বারের ভেতর তারপর যা ঘটলো, এরপর আমার জীবনে নেমে এসেছিল দুর্যোগ। ডাক্তার মা বাবাকে বললেন ওর কিছু মানসিক সমস্যা রয়েছে, ওষুধ দিয়ে দিচ্ছি, ওকে কঠোরভাবে নিয়ন্ত্রণ করুন। কোনো ছেলেদের পোশাক পরতে দেওয়া যাবে না, কোনো ছেলেদের কাজ করতে দেওয়া যাবে না, বাড়ির যত মেয়েলি কাজ রয়েছে ওকে দিয়ে করাবেন। 6 মাস ওকে কঠোরভাবে নিয়ন্ত্রণ করুন। ডাক্তার আমাকেও বলেছিলেন তোমার ভাবনা এক ধরনের মানসিক সমস্যা, তুমি আগামী 6 মাস মনে প্রাণে নিজেকে মেয়ে মনে করো, আমার দেওয়া ওষুধগুলো খাবে, তুমি এসব ভাবনা বন্ধ না করলে আরো কড়া ওষুধ দেব, তখন আমার আর কিছু ভাবার ক্ষমতা থাকবে না। আমি ডাক্তার চেম্বার থেকে বেরিয়ে এসে কিছু বলার অবস্থায় ছিলাম না। বাবা ডাক্তারের দেওয়া ওষুধ কিনে আনলেন। 2 দিন ওষুধ খাওয়ার পর বুঝতে পারি আমার মাথা কাজ করা বন্ধ করে দিয়েছে। থ্যাংক ইউ। এটাই আমার শুরু, সাহিত্য, স্টার্টিং অফ মাই রাইটিংস। Thank you very much again, Sahitya Academy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deepan. Just to give you a very brief gist of what Deepan is talking about, he's actually writing about his personal journey through a series of articles as a blogger. And in this, this is, I believe, the second part of his writing, where he has talked about the ups and downs in his personal life. A lot of the experiences that he has shared about his personal realization, about the stress and the tensions with family members. A lot of transgender people go through this. The attitude of the healthcare providers. He also talks about the fact that while he was growing up, there were very few options for people to access gender affirmative care. But now the scene is changing, the scenario is changing somewhat. So he's planning to continue writing this as a series through his blog. And I hope that we can share the link to your blog with as many people interested. So I would now like to request Vijayaraja Malika to come and share her thoughts and a piece of her writing.
आदरणीय पवन जी, मेरे साथियों और आज जो प्रश्न करता है सबको मेरे प्रणाम। मैं विजय राज मल्लिका केरल से आई हूँ और फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई वुड लाइक टू थैंक केंद्र साहित्य एकेडमी बिकॉज हमारा जन्म जो है जो धरती और आकाश के बीच में हवा जैसा एक जन्म जहाँ समाज से हमें जो मिलता है उनका नाम है तिरस्कार। पर ऐसे लोगों को साहित्य एकेडमी ने यहाँ लाके मंच में बिठा के एक ऐसे अवसर दिया है कि हम लोग हमारे सर्गात्मकता को बाहर ले आए और we just tell the world that we are also normal, quite normal as all we are. So as an intersex trans woman or a transsexual person, I always felt proud of what I am because everyone is unique in this world. As an intersex person, I always wanted to tell the world that I do exist in this binary, heteronormative, fascist society. So what I did was that right from the age of 12, I started writing. I wrote about the identity, especially which I lived in and which I wanted to tell the world. So through writing, I could always find that I was not inspiring just myself, but in fact, I was inspiring a whole community. And today I'm so proud that this is the third time that I'm coming to the Kendra Sahitya Academy. And on this third time, it's okay for me. Okay. So as I live in this, it's okay, but that was okay for me because the wind was coming. I was feeling so cold. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's okay, fine. But it's not okay for them because it's not audible for them properly. Okay, so as an intersex writer, I was so happy because I was writing not only about myself, like just जैसे मैं आईना देखती थी जब मैं लिखती थी I can see many other people who didn't have their own identity to be expressed. And this time I'm so proud that this is the third time to the Kendra Sahitya Academy, and I was able to bring 3 other queer writers from Kerala. I believe that is a great achievement from my part as a queer writer who has been representing Kerala and Malayalam for the past 3 times. So, I didn't know that I was creating, history in the world of queer literature because in 2020 I could write the first lullaby for the intersex children who have been born and thrown away from the society. I started writing in the I started publishing in the year 2018, and all of now I have got 8 publications, 7 in Malayalam and 1 in English, and 3 of them are part of different universities in India. That is what, as a queer writer, I actually bag as my one of the biggest achievements. So I actually find myself happy, satisfied, and also a person who is a motivator when I write. And another one thing is like when I translate my own poetry, I always wanted to bring the actual spirit or the actual atma, which I was trying to depict in my own language. So apart from Malayalam, I write in Hindi, English, and even in Tamil. So let me start with one of my choir poetry or a lullaby, which was written in Tamil for the Ide Palina Kuledagal, that is intersex children. Aanalla ponnalla பொன்மணி நீ எனக்கு தேனமுதம் தான் கண்ணே என் துயரத்தின் கண்ணீர் கண்டு காலம் தந்த செல்வம் நீயே கண்ணா செல்வம் நீயே நன்மையும் தீமையும் I actually forgot that. That is நன்மையும் திண்மையும் வேர்திரிக்கேണം കള്ളികൾക്കപ്പുറം നീ വളരേണം പൊരുളിന്റെ പ്രതിബിംബമാകേണം നീ നീയായി തന്നെ നിറയേണം. മകനല്ല മകളല്ല വാനവില്ലേ, മാറോട് ചേർക്കുന്നു ഞാൻ നിന്നെ, നൽകുന്നു നെറുകയിലൊരുമ്മ, ജന്മസാഫല്യത്തിൻ 100 ഉമ്മ. തളരല്ലേ തഴയ്ക്കട്ടെ നിന്റെ സ്വപ്നങ്ങൾ, താങ്ങായി മാറട്ടെ നിന്റെ ജന്മം, ശാപമല്ല പാപമല്ല ഓമനെ നീ എന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിൽ വന്നുദിച്ച ഭാഗ്യതാരം. This is in fact a lullaby which has been written for the first time in the world for the intersex children who have been thrown away from the society, from their own families. So I am someone who have actually written books and taken back my family, actually reintegrated to my own family and became a very respectful person in the society. I don't feel bad when I leave as a trans woman in my own place. I married a cisgender man. I have a very good family life and also very good professional life. Right now, I've been taken part I'm the first transgender, what is like board member of the Kerala Sahitya Academy and also the SCRT, that is a textbook committee in Kerala. All those achievements which I have gathered in this cure world, I don't think that I will take all these things when I go, like during my last birth, because all these titles are for the community which I am actually into. So I always respect the so-called heteronormative fascist society because they always threw stones on me, and I asked them not to stop doing that, because once you started, I could establish as what I am, and I feel proud that for what I am being. And one more thing is that, my dear friends, please write. Because once you start to write, you can find your identity and you can be proud of what you are. And please learn many languages at this young age, because once you get established by yourself, it is very easy for you to continue writing and flourish as you are in different languages. Let me go for one more poetry, that is Lal Kamal. रवि के सीने पर सोने को नहीं, जन्मा है कीचड़ में यह लाल पंकज, कहने को कुछ है जोर देकर किसी से, भाट में जाने को नहीं है यह जन्म, आंखों पर पट्टी भादी लगती क्या जानती, नीति मर चुकी है इस देश में, चीजों की तरह सजाते समय विषय बनाना भूल गया, अभी भी सांप जहरीले अनकटे जंगल में, सीना तान कर घिटकर घड़ी होगी प्रतिरोध का यह लाल कमल. इसका मलयालम ट्रांसलेशन ऐसा होता है, രവിയുടെ മാറിൽ മയങ്ങുവാനല്ല ചേറിൽ കുരുത്തതി ചെന്താമര, ചിലതുണ്ട് ചിലരോട് ഊന്നിപ്പറയുവാൻ നടുവിരൽ പൊക്കുവാനല്ല ജന്മം, കണ്ണുകൾ കെട്ടിയ പെണ്ണറിയുന്നോ നീതി ഈ നാട്ടിൽ മരിച്ചുവെന്ന്, വസ്തുക്കളാക്കി അലങ്കരിക്കുമ്പോൾ വിഷയങ്ങളാക്കാൻ മറന്നുപോയോ, കശ്മല സർപ്പങ്ങൾ ഇനിയുമുണ്ടല്ലോ വെട്ടിത്തെളിക്കാത്ത കാടുകളിൽ, ചങ്കുറപ്പോടെന്നും പൂത്തുനിന്നിടും ചെറുത്തുനിൽപ്പിന്റെ ഈ ചെന്താമര. That is, I and my community is the red lotus of resistance. Thank you. Sorry, it's gone.
Thank you, Vijayaraj Mallika. That was really touching and heartwarming. We have time. We are doing well for time. So what I want to do is ask each of the speakers a particular question. And then after that, we will throw it open for question and answer with the audience. So Santa, my first question is for you. And I hope you will also share one of your poems with us. So one of the reasons why I started with reading out the Declaration of Freedom from way back in 1995 is because I personally work in the area of queer histories, recent queer histories. I'm not talking about the Indian mythology, or Indian epics or writings from the medieval period. I'm talking about the histories of the last 30 to 40 years, because a lot has happened in that period of time. And what interests me particularly is the kind of work that Santa herself has been doing as an activist and as a writer, She has been researching and documenting the trans and queer histories of Manipur and always responding to and resisting efforts to erase trans cultures in Manipur. So, Santa, can you share a few highlights of what has been happening in Manipur and how are you responding? And please do share one of your poems with us.
Yeah, I will just uh, wanted to take people back to my memory lane where I have started doing this research on queer history, and also why it is important for me to do that for the community, because like it's sometimes very difficult to claim our existence without having a narratives of our own. So this is the reason why I have started doing this queer history research and started documenting on queer life stories and also how the queer were existed from the historical time. Like it was in 2022 that I did a research on Faida, Gender at Periphery, which was published in the same year. That was a book that was trying to uncover the existence of gender pluralism and multiplicity in the actual Manipuri society when there was no colonization, because Manipur was colonized several times by British, by Myanmaris. So like most of our history got erased, and it was completely, and in the process of this colonization, the chapter that was mentioned about the existence of this concept of gender, the practice of gender, gender plurality, and also all these sort of stuffs were erased and it was taken away during colonization. So this is the reason why I've started doing it. Why it was important is like we often got backlash and also a lot of threats from the cultural and religious fundamentalists telling that transgender peoples are not allowing to enter in Lai Haraba, which is the biggest cultural spaces for the Sanamahi religion, indigenous Sanamahi religion. So in order to resist that and respond to that kind of backlash and threat, it is also important to dig out the historical narratives of our own existence. So that was the main reason why I did Faida, the gender periphery. Later on, I also realized that there are things that needs to be continued to be written and to be documented, because the history is what exists now and also what exists in the earlier on time. So like from that onwards, I continued writing on shamanism, transgender shaman, which is called visibilizing the invisible, and also the forbidden prophecies, which is also important. Uh, which I feel also important, because like Manipur, in the context of Manipur, I feel Manipur is a trans tolerant society, because we live with our family, unlike the other rest of the country, rest of the world. In many of the countries, what I have heard about the trans life is the moment a child turns out to be a transgender person, they are often rejected by the family and outcast from the family. But in Manipur, we at least have this opportunity to live with our family and get 2 meals in a day. That makes a lot of sense. And also, like, in order to claim this gender plurality and the society in connection with the transgender real lives, it's important to continue writing our existence through different mediums. And also, not only writing, I use different mediums like visual mediums, which like a few of the names that were published are Nawa, the Spirit of Ate, and the Unheard Voice, which tells a lot of stories about a non-conforming child, 13 years old non-conforming child, and the Unheard Voice was all about the transgender shaman's life, because their life is also endangered now, and the population of this community is very, very rare because of certain influences coming in the state, and they got a lot of threats from other cultural fundamentalist group. So it's also important to keep writing and then keep that document as a legacy for the young generation, so that if anybody wanted to do something for the community, at least they have pools of literature, pools of information, so that they can start doing the groundwork. In our context, it's very difficult to even start doing groundwork because we do not have any literature available. So for me, like archiving and documentation, archiving is one thing that I feel important to keep doing, so that we don't lose our history. The history will get continuous for the young generation. That's why I'm very much interested on doing queer history literature and doing a lot of research for the community. This also helps to, like spread the narratives, and also to even tell the stories at the limelight, the context of Manipur. Thank you. Oh, no, I got distracted. Yeah. Mm. As Pawan has requested me to read out one of my poems, before reading out this poem, I would like to request to all the audience to give a round of big applause to the Sahitya Academy. Because this is one poem that I have submitted to the Sahitya Academy, which is going to be published. It's a collection of poems from queer writers. So this is called Imphal Diary, which is based on the transgender runs beauty parlor in Imphal and how we resist to the threats that's coming from the cultural fundamentalists. This is based on a real incident that was taken place few years back. Here goes the Imphal Diary. When the sundown turned off the glowing signboard hung outside the beauty salon, inside was like busy bees. Each one of them tried to grasp the tiny space in front of the body length mirror. Lean faces close to the mirror, touching up the very face using the all-color palettes. The queen occupied an uninterrupted space in the busy environment. She neither cared for the noise nor used the all-color palettes. Around her were Maybelline, Sugar, MAC. She was blessed for her extensive hard work. The face was treated with the soft hand of a skilled attendant. With the color painted on appropriate setting, after every touch, she looked at the oval-shaped wooden engraved hand mirrors, instructing the attendant her wishes. Those brows for the space in front of the mirror, verging upon the queens and pressing the beauty as Moirang Toibi. Welcoming the kind word with raising one eyebrow, a sign of authoritarian autocracy. Everyone wished to be pleased by the queen. As the queen is leading the wintry chill night, the queen commanded one attendant to open a closed cabin. They found 3 bottles of teacher whiskey. In a thin disposable plastic glass, there goes cheers. Within an hour, queen was no more a queen. The queen became friends of the attendant's sister, mother, and family head. The queen then asked the attendants to share calendars of events if one have. A smart one checked kumhai.com on Facebook. They found a list of local concerts around Imphal. All had indifferences in opinion while choosing the sport. The noise of the argument stolen the peace of the environment. The queen then took the decision. They all came out from the room like a string of stars. The driver awaited inside the sophisticated car for long. The queen then instructed him to take them to Lamlai, a place in the northern side of Imphal East district, to a birthday celebration of another queen, 29 September 2017, 12 o'clock midnight. All reads to the birthday venue filled with music and songs. The chill breeze accompanied the wild rain. Intoxication energized the sense of freedom. Body can't no longer stand still. The rhythm of the music influenced the body. They started to move in a wavy motion and dancing passionately in the mud. The dominators inside the bracket local men, of the human society intruded the freedom, shaming the moving body as appropriating female body, hence created disputation between the Queen's party and the cultural warrior. Power compensated the ungrounded claim and vandalized the joy and freedom of the night, terrorized the Queen's empire with the attack of the cultural warrior. But the short-lived moment was momentous for the Queen. The Queen's party resisted the venomous attack of the cultural warrior. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Santa. That was amazing.
Gopi Shankar Madurai ji is with us. I invite him onto the stage, please. Noted equal rights and indigenous rights activist, essayist, and social activist, Gopi Shankar Madurai ji is recipient of several awards, including the Commonwealth Youth Worker Award, Queen's Young Leader Award, and Diversity Leadership Award. His major publications include Marikkapatta Pakkangala, Pal, Palinam, Palial Orunginayu. He is the founder of Srishti Madurai Volunteer Movement, founding member of Intersex Asia, and was member of the executive board of ILGA Asia. He was the South Regional Representative in the National Council of Transgender Persons as well. Welcome, Gopi Shankar ji.
So, welcome from my side to Gopi Shankar Madurai. So, Gopi, we were discussing a particular topic, which is basically quest for identity. And I've been asking all the speakers to share how they have undertaken this quest for identity through their writings. And so would you like to share some thoughts about that? And you are also most welcome to read out any of your creations. Would you like to come here or speak from there?
Vanakkam, namaste. So actually, the quest for identity is something, for example, see, the government want to help us a lot, but they want to do a lot of things to us, but they don't know who we are. In India, the government of India don't have the census of number of gender non-conforming children living in this country. In India, we haven't even included intersex persons as part of the census of the government. And the term LGBT is, first of all, it's right. Whatever is coming from America, why we should accept it? The modern neo-colonist in the world who is having more than 200 plus military base everywhere is America. And the term LGBT comes from America, which completely erases many indigenous identities around the globe. That's why we promoted the term when I was part of the executive board of International Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Intersex Association, which is known as ILGA. We even called the independent expert on the LGBT rights as independent expert on SOGI rights. That is, independent expert on sexual orientation, gender identity expression, and sex characteristics. So the term SOGI-SC is more inclusive and more non-colonial, and as well as more, it is a term without hegemony, which accommodates a lot of indigenous identities too, from the Pacific to the Latin American countries to the Indian identities, whatever we see here. So first of all, calling it as a LGBT Writers Meet itself is highly problematic, we should call it as Sogiyasi Writers Meet instead of that, because the term LGBTQ does not have an intersex identity. It does not accommodate Hijira, Jogappa, Mangalmukhi, Nupi Manbi, or Arvani, or Saki Beki, or whatever identities we have, or in the Asia Pacific, or whatever identity a person identify with. So that itself is questionable. The second thing, quest for identity is something. Just because a person is from the community doesn't mean that they know everything about the community. And we have this Gori slavery, Hijra, Jamaat, Gharana, Haveli, Dayar system, which has flourished across the country. And whatever the government is introducing, it is empowering them more. We have A. Revati Amma here, who is one of the senior most activists, and we have Kalki Akka here. A. Revati Amma has wrote a lot about the Jamaat system, the Hijra Jamaat Gharana system, where a 14 years old or 15 years old gender non-conforming child coming out of the home, because the parents don't accept. Parents accept when their child is a terrorist or a rapist or anybody else. If your child is a gender non-conforming child, if your child belongs to diverse sexual orientation, gender identity, expression, and sex characteristics, then the parent don't want that child. According to the National Crime Bureau, every 8 minutes, one child is going missing in India. How many 8 minutes? How many one children per day? Or how many children per day and how many children per year? We are not even bothered about it. And none of the parties or pride parades or the meetings or focusing on what is happening to intersex infants and gender non-conforming children. Today's gender non-conforming children who are doing, earlier we used to stand on the highways for oral sex 500 rupees, for penetration 1000 rupees, with lorry drivers to everyone they used to do. These days they are using OnlyFans to different types of apps which are from Europe and America, which don't even have a proper regulation here, through which a lot of drug cartel is completely facilitated in India. On one hand, Modi's Digital India facilitated a lot of positive things. On the other hand, without even proper regulation, without proper privacy policy, which is challenged by a former RSS Karyakarta called Govindacharya ji in the court, that how the government is making all the data freely available to the different countries. So all this has been recorded by senior writers like Revati Amma, especially in Tamil language. We see a lot of progressive things are happening in Tamil Nadu because people like her has been working for so long on especially talking about the Jamaat system. So a 14 years old gender non-conforming child, when they come out of the house, they need to do begging and do prostitution and pay at least 3 to 4 lakh rupees to their senior Nayaks. Once they pay that money, they will be allowed to undergo this gender affirming surgery, for which there is no medical protocol. We have medical protocol for operating stray dogs in India. We don't have medical protocol to operate a transgender person in India. And after that medical protocol, without that medical protocol, these gender non-conforming children undergo this gender affirming surgery. Once they undergo that surgery, they are domesticated into prostitution and begging. Why 98% or the majority of my community is doing prostitution and begging on the streets? When a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old gender non-conforming child is habituated and domesticated in a system where they are perpetuated, they are kind of, mentored or groomed in that way. How many the senior Nayaks are sending these gender non-conforming children to schools and colleges? If this is a place of a great, thing. So, and people within our community don't want to talk about that. Very few writers like Revati Amma and individual trans women like Kalki Akka And we have Urvashi, who is part of Ministry of Culture. She is the first trans woman to be part of the Ministry of Culture's National Culture Fund and first trans woman to get property rights, inheritance rights in India. The present government appointed her in the Ministry of Culture. So like that, few people are the ones who are talking about these systems, because we don't have this traditional Hijra Jamaat Gharana Haveli system in the Northeast. It is evolving now. We never had the system in Kerala, which is evolving from Coimbatore now. And this is a gory slavery system, which if we are against fascism, if we are against caste discrimination, we need to be against this gory slavery system, which is enforcing majority of my community members who are intersex infants and gender non-conforming children into begging and prostitution. And our own writers from the community and those people who are allies need to focus on these subjects and work on these nuances so that we can be individual. In this 21st century, if I am feeling that I am neither a man nor a woman, when I say about neither man nor a woman, people don't even know the difference between sex and gender. We see the central government, the union government, filing an affidavit in the Supreme Court opposing the same-sex marriage, in which I am one of the petitioner. I am a practicing Hindu and my partner is a practicing Hindu. What is wrong in recognizing our relationship under the Hindu marriage law? And the Hindu marriage law itself is a highly political one, which only accepts Shatapatha Brahmana. There are at least 11 to 12 different types of marriages in Hindu traditions. Not all marriage traditions follow Shatapatha Brahmana. There are plenty of Nadar tradition weddings which takes place without yajna or homa. We accept it as part of the Hindu tradition law. And the way the union government represented the affidavit, they are saying that biological man and biological woman. Are they stupid? There is nothing called biological man and woman. There is biological male and biological female. Because the court don't know the difference between sex and gender. The judges don't know the difference. I mean, the advocates don't know the difference between sex and gender. The union government don't know the difference between sex and gender. The ICMR and the medical practitioners don't know the difference between sex and gender. Sex is common to all the species in the world. We have male, female, and people born with diverse sex characteristics. Gender identity is man, woman, and transgender persons, and there are 58 plus gender identities for which majority of the identities have Tamil terms. So what we see is that without even basic understanding, I was telling the Sahitya Academy, even before having LGBT Writers Meet, you should first think whether we should call it as LGBT Writers Meet. You must give an orientation on the subject, or at least have a discussion on what is the subject means, and understand the politics and the necessities and the needs on the subject. So the quest for identity is something. We are not trying to establish identity and hegemony from America and Europe here. We have these identities as part and parcel of our system from the day one we evolved here and we called it as a country, as India, or even before, it was unions of many, Mahayana Padas or the regions put together, which we refer as present and past India. And the quest for that identity is something about dignity. It is about my own community members are the first enemy of my community. And the second thing is that without even proper understanding, we are running such events or making such events to happen. First of all, we need to, sensitize Sahitya Academy, every single staff members in the Sahitya Academy, that what does SOGISI means? What does diversity and inclusion means? How many differently abled people are attending this event? How many differently abled people from the diverse sexual orientation, gender identity, sex characteristics are attending this event? How many people from the diverse religious communities and diverse ethnicities are attending this event? Makes this event successful, makes the quest for identity more meaningful, I believe. And thank you.
Thank you. That was a very interesting perspective. And I quite agree with you that a lot more groundwork is needed. Definitely such events should happen, but there's a lot of groundwork that should go in before these events are organized. So I have a few more questions, but before that, if anyone in the esteemed audience wants to ask any questions, uh, we can entertain a few questions.
Thank you so much. It was a very powerful speech that you have given. So there you mentioned one very relevant point that in most of the cases nowadays, our community people are opposing us. So that is very pathetic part of the movement where the movement can be stagnant anytime because of that point. So I'd like to ask you how to solve or resolve this issue among the community fighting, interpersonal community fighting. What is still happening everywhere in this country, and give a small glimpse on that, because when we talk about solidarity, in most of the cases we see some different issues inside the community, so which was not to happen, which is very sad, very upsetting. And of course, myself as an activist, I feel really helpless sometimes. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Hello everyone. My question is like जैसे हमारे okay gender and sex you have talked about, that's very valid point. And like in our shastras and all, it is said tritiya prakriti, like for instead of LGBTQ or something, it's a tritiya prakriti. Is it correct or not? Please enlighten on this one, because one is male female and the एक दो प्रकृति हो गई, एक मेल एक फीमेल, और एक तृतीय प्रकृति होती है जिसका जैसे आपने अभी जिक्र किया कि जेंडर बायस होता है, मतलब तो उसके बारे में कुछ बताएंगे. एंड स्टिल लाइक शी इज द एक्टिविस्ट, सो बट आई स्टिल see there are the hoardings on the flyovers and all that ki begging is not allowed, but I see transgender people, they are begging. And when I talked to one of the person, so she was, I mean, she was saying that I know the beautician course, so you please put me to some beauty parlor or something. There are 5-6 females. This is, I'm talking about the flyover which is at Bikaji Kama place. There are so many signals here in Delhi. People are begging there. So do you people, like she is activist, do you people visit to these people on the signals? And do you have any remedies for them or solutions so they should get some decent jobs in the parlors or some in office like that? Thank you.
On that particular point, I'd like to share one thing, that we need to do the groundwork very hard, because it is not the initiative of any particular person. It needs to be initiated by the government, by the NGOs also. They all have to work together. The network should be very strong to rehabilitate person from that begging. And it's a very controversial issue. In culturally, few people of the community, they say that begging is not a sin, not a crime, because in mythology, in Hindu mythology, when Shiva came to Annapurna for begging, so they correlate the ritual between. So why there is an obstruction in case of transgender people begging on the street? But in my view, I still know that people don't provide such respect or dignified presentation to transgender people who are begging or clapping on the street and signals. So we have to work hard and hard to resolve the issue. It's not a matter of 1 day or 2 days, 2 days matters. So we have to work hard together. It might take a long time to resolve the issue. Right now, it might not be solved that way that we are thinking. Thank you.
First of all, I would like to thank Pawan and all the speakers here for such an enlightening session. Each one of you came up with wonderful thoughts, and your literature was wonderful as well. And talking about, especially about invisibility, I think a majority of our transgender people's lives have been invisible. Hundreds of activists have raised voices, concerns, and we have not documented all of it. And it's just not in Tamil Nadu, but all of India, of course. I would say the begging, the sex work, the trafficking, the begging, that is not just happening today. It has been happening for decades in our country, and not for just children and women, and of course for transgender people also. I know many of my friends who were pushed into begging, who were pushed into sex work, and it is an organized crime. It is an organized crime that exists outside and within the community as well. So why this happens is also because the law and order in our country is not so strict. And when the law and order is perfect, I think it will be perfect. As an individual activist, I don't have the authority and the power to, I can just question it, but I cannot change it. It is the duty of the government and the law to change it and to push it for betterment. So as activists, me and Revati, and we all have been talking about it for so many years now, and we do it in a different way. We talk about family inclusion. When families accept transgender people, they don't come out and do begging or pushed into sex work or trafficking or begging and all that. As long as our families accept, as long as we are safe and secure in families and continue with our education, as long as we are protected in schools and in colleges, why should we beg? Why should we go for sex work? So when we change the system, we as activists are trying to change that system through education, pushing our families and societies to accept transgender, intersex, and queer people in families. When that happens, this kind of a crime and, crime as well as exploitation of the transgender people will come down. It has come down. It's already breaking. It's already shattering. But it will take many years to change. And we will be continuing to do our work in different ways. But it is absolutely the duty of the government, especially the law and order, has to be much more stronger, bold, and also beyond all that, the safety, security of transgender people and inclusion of transgender people in families, and particularly the issues that happen in school and colleges, where our community people and our children, gender non-conforming children, are bullied and they face a lot of exclusion. These are issues that has to be changed, and I believe that as activists we can voice, but the power to change lies with the government and the law and order and the judiciary. Thank you.
Hello all. So my question is, today there is a lot of representation of transgender people in literature, art, or even in the film industry, but there are certain kind of tropes or certain kind of molds which are used continuously for their representation. So what is your view or what is your take about these representational molds or motifs, as these motifs, shape the general people's perception about transgender people? So as a common man, we got to know about the LGBTQ people through these texts or through these movies only. And in these movies, there surface a lot of motifs or recurring portrayals or recurring molds about transgender people. So what is your take on that?
Thank you. Is there any particular speaker you would like that question to be answered by? Anyone? Okay, Gopi, you want to go first?
I'll first answer the two questions which are pointed towards me. That is, the community against the community is something, for example, when you see the Nada community of Tamil Nadu, Nada community don't have a specific party, a caste-based party for themselves. Nadas are part of every single political party in Tamil Nadu. And from the real estate business to the software company, HCL Shivnadar, to everyone I can name. But they were ostracized. They were ostracized than the Pallars and Parayars. They were the worst. Before 100 years, they led a worst life. And they said, we don't want to be part of the scheduled caste community and scheduled tribes, and we will be Nadars, and we will do, they focused more on the economic independence. But they allowed their representation in every spectrum. What we see in Kerala is that a group of people only supporting the Communist Party, they don't even want to criticize the Communist Party. What we see in the center is that we see a group of people who support the union government and they don't even want to criticize the government. What we see with the respective governments in each state is that, so our community members are becoming saffron, red, white, pink. What sort of nonsense is that? We need our community representation in every spectrum. I'm a practicing Hindu. I educated the churches. I made them to include LGBTI community or the SOGSC communities as part of their curriculum. We were the first to approach the Islamic organizations, especially the Kandapuram Imam, the Grand Imam of India is present from the Kandapuram, Kerala. And we have approached diverse religious community leaders too. So the thing is that we need diversity within ourselves. Why we want to homogenize everything in the name of Eurocentric approach, the left and right approach? Europe is something else. America is something else. Let me not copy the very kind of activism or activities, whatever is taking place there. Just because they fund our organization doesn't mean that they own our people and our lives. First, we need to realize that. And we need to understand that LGBT person can support Modi, Sonia Gandhi, or anyone they want, or they can be apolitical. We need our persons in everything. Everything. But what we see is that when we see a form of diversity emerging, people are trying to homogenize everything. So that should be stopped. We are for diversity. At the same time, our diversity itself comes in a very homogenized, Eurocentric sense. So the second question, what she asked is that, for example, sex is different, gender is different. For example, when we go and take a puppy on the road, we say it's a female puppy or male puppy. We don't call it as a man or woman. Court don't know the difference between being a female and being a woman. So the point here I'm trying to convey is that why we need to go to Tritiya Prakriti from some, of course in Rig Veda, in certain mandalas, they are referring Tritiya Prakriti, but they are not saying Tritiya. The word Tritiya Prakriti means beyond duality, doesn't mean third. Each word in Sanskrit have more than 30 meanings. And why we should, first of all, you're wearing t-shirt. Are we calling it Angavastra now? Are we having equal terminology in Hindi for that? Then why we should go on clinging to something which existed some time ago? Yes, our heritage is based on the whole values of this land. It is not just based on the Smritis of the Vedas or the Shrutis of the Vedas. We have diverse philosophies emerging from this land, which acknowledges the diverse OGSC communities. But at the same time, we need to understand that in the contemporary society, when we are using Apple phone, which is Western, when we are using most of the technology which is Western, and this terminology, LGBT is quite, comes with a hegemony and comes with an economic power and politics. That's why we wanted to replace with SOGI, SC or common terminologies. The matter of terminology matters a lot. In Bible, they say that the words give life, words kill, which is like we, in general, need to use a nomenclature which is quite affirmative to a lot of identities. Not to, for example, according to your context, if you call our community as Tritiya Prakriti, then who's the first and second sex? Our Shastras are not classifying anybody as first sex or second sex or third sex. Our Shastras are not even talking about gender identity. The word gender itself evolved after 1930s and popularized after 1960s. At the time, America didn't even allow women to vote, but we had a women prime minister ruling India. It doesn't mean that women enjoyed all privileges here. At the same time, we had female infanticide happening here. So, the second thing is that about begging and prostitution. About begging and prostitution, we are doing our best. Till yesterday, how many of our own community want to talk about the Gori slavery Hijra Jamaat system? All those people whom you are seeing begging on the streets or doing prostitution is not somebody who will take the money to their home. They need to give to their Nayak. See, a father is coming to take a bail for their son who raped a 7-year-old child in Chennai. In the Chengalpattu court or in Chennai court, I think. When the particular son who is an engineering student, who cannot call himself as a student or human at all, who raped a 7-year-old child and dumped the child in the water tank, the father is coming to take a bail to that son. How many of us came out of our home? Revati Amma came so young. Did Revati Amma's father launch a missing complaint to the police station? No. When Urvashi want to inherit the property, oh, you go and wear pants and trousers and come back. So, how many of the parents are first going to the police station to report to the police that my gender non-conforming child or my child is missing? First, irrespective of the identities we have, why the parent is not seeing the child whom they gave birth as their own child? So the problem starts with not the government. It starts with the home, with the father and mother. So, thank you.
Thank you, Gopi. That was a very important point. Actually, I would just like to add that, ma'am, your question about Tritiya Prakriti. So, it is very important to understand that Tritiya Prakriti is not literally just a number. It is a point that Gopi mentioned is beyond a duality. It is beyond a binary. Unfortunately, we all talk in terms of binaries, black and white, man, woman, male, female. But there are aspects of life which are beyond those binaries. And Tritiya Prakriti actually symbolizes that. So there are not just 3 genders. There are multiple genders. There are multiple ways of looking at sex also, or sex characteristics. So I think it's very important. I think this point has to be reiterated, that we need far more dialogues on gender and sexuality diversity, and parallel perhaps to events like the ones that are happening. Santa, you would like to respond to one of the questions?
Thank you for all those questions. I won't take a long time because I just don't want to take over this space because of my co-panelists also. To the first question about community conflict, what I feel is like there is a very strong controls from the cisgender heterosexual led society towards the community, and being a marginalized community, it's very very easy for the majoritarian to divide it through certain influences. This is what I experienced in my life. And the second thing is about transgender livelihood. I won't be able to respond with a finite answer on that because I come from a place which is completely different from the rest of India. From a state where you not see a single beggar, and transgender peoples are not do not resort their livelihood on sex work, and people have their own independent earning. There are a lot of transgender runs beauty parlor, but one things that I see why people begging in the street is because of the failure of the system. The failure of the system because the system is not in our favor. For example, it is the state also holds certain accountability to provide the full citizenship of every individual, which we fail to receive. For example, there is trans legislation. The legislation is there, but it has not been implemented. If it get implemented, in what way? There is always this question about recognizing, getting this legal recognition as a third gender or transgender or whatever, blah blah blah. A lot of names are there. So and also talking about this representation of the transgender peoples in different medium, which I feel it's also a very good question to raise, because many of the time we have seen how the cisgender peoples are projecting transgenders life. They're always trying to stereotype transgender life as a beggar, as a sex work or whatever. But what we need to know is that there is always this diversity in trans society and culture, because transgender is not an individual, it's a community, it's a commune. So we have commonalities, we have certain diverse stories within the community. I'm a transgender person, I'm a writer, I'm a scholar, I'm an activist, and I'm a mother, and also I'm a daughter of my mother. So these are the aspects of a trans life, trans individual. And this is why this space is important for us, so that we write our own stories, so that it do not get diluted when it get published. So I feel like that's why such spaces are important for us, so that community can tell their own stories from their own mouth. So there is no, what to say, other narratives coming in the storytelling. Thank you.
Thank you, Santa. I have, okay, there's a question from the audience. Please take them, or it'll be clearer.
Hello. Instead of begging, instead of going to home and earn the money, and why don't the third gender go to the handicapped people and help them and get the money? Like, you can go to visually handicapped and read for her and write for her or him. Similarly, you can learn the sign language and help the deaf and mute person. And you can learn the things people who cannot walk. You can go there and get the money. Why is the standing on the road and red light and begging? They should find their work. What can they do? They should extend these things, that you can help, he can help. You can go, he can come. So we get the hands that you can help. Thank you.
Hello. Why this LGBTQ Writers Meet is a separate session? Why not it is included in Writers Meet? Why not all you are included in Writers Meet? Do you agree this separate session?
Anyone wants to?
You have raised a very good and strong question. When we talk about inclusion, actually we do exclusion in most of the cases. So in future, I'd like to ask Sahitya Academy to include, not to do any separate session for LGBTQ people. It should be generalized because we are special but not different than so-called cis normal people. So we all are normal. Rather, if I say that the cis people are also normal as us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tista. So we have just about time to wind up the session. I have a question each for Deepan and for Vijay Raja Mallika. Deepan, I want you to answer one, to share thoughts on one particular aspect that you have faced a lot of problems in your own livelihood in your quest for employment. And in that, you have faced a lot of problems. You have faced exclusion. You have faced discrimination. What do you think queer themed literature can do to address these problems? Yeah, Hindi or Bengali, and I can help you translate.
हेलो एक्चुअली मुझे जो बोलना है, पहले मैं एक चीज़ लेके बोलना चाहता हूँ. पहली बात ये है, यहाँ पर बेगिंग एंड क्लैपिंग ये सारा चीज़ लेके बात हो रहा है जो डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड विद द ट्रांसजेंडर वुमेन, ट्रांस वुमेन. आप अगर देखेंगे ट्रांस मैन को लेके ना कोई लिटरेचर है, ना कोई फोकस है. देयर रियली एक्सक्लूडेड फ्रॉम द ट्रांस कम्युनिटी इटसेल्फ. अगर आप बात करेंगे, जितना भी हो, आप फिल्म में देखिए, जहां भी देखिए, लिटरेचर देखिए, रास्ते में देखिए, ट्रांस मैन को लेके कोई आज तक इतना वोकली कोई नहीं बोल पाया. लेकिन ट्रांस मैन का जो स्ट्रगल है वो डिफरेंट है. आज ट्रांस वुमेन बाहर निकल के आ रहे, उन लोगों का बहुत सारा ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है. अगर कोई बाहर निकल के आते घर से तो हिजड़ा कम्युनिटी में चले जाते, वहां पर लाइवलीहुड उन लोगों का चलाने के लिए जो भी करना पड़ता है करते हैं. लेकिन अगर आप ट्रांस मैन को देखिए, वो लोग अगर घर में रह के जो फेस करते हैं, पहली बात ये लेके कभी आज तक बात नहीं हुआ. घर में वो लोग कभी बहुत सारे ऐसे हमारे पास आए हैं जिन लोगों को रेप किया गया है, करेक्टिव रेप किया गया है, बिकॉज उन लोगों को ये समझाने के लिए यू आर ए फीमेल और योर बॉडी इज ए फीमेल बॉडी. ये समझाने के किसने किया? उसके बाप ने किया, उसके भाई ने किया, उसके चाचा ने किया. लेकिन ये बात आज तक कोई लिटरेचर में नहीं आया, कोई फिल्म में भी नहीं आया, कहीं भी नहीं आया, किधर भी ये बात नहीं होता है. लेकिन वी आर फेसिंग सच थिंग्स क्योंकि हम लोग निकल के नहीं आते हैं. हम लोग के पास वो बेस नहीं है, वो जगह नहीं है जहां जाके रह सकते हैं. अभी सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने गरिमा गृह बनाया, वो बनाया, वो बनाया. कितने ट्रांसमैन निकल के आ सकते हैं, वो एक बात है, वो मैं बोलना चाहता था. मुझे लगता है कि अगर कोई प्लेटफॉर्म ऐसे बनाया गया जहां पर ट्रांस मैन को भी इंक्लूड किया जाए, ट्रांस मैन का स्टोरी भी सामने आए, उन लोगों का स्ट्रगल भी सामने आए, तो ये एक पॉजिटिव स्टेप होगा. क्योंकि इंक्लूशन सब जगह में चाहिए, सबको चाहिए. अभी जो मैं सेकंड स्टेप में आ रहा हूं कि मेरा स्ट्रगल सोसाइटी से था, हर जगह में था, मैं निकल के आया. सबसे बड़ी बात है, मैंने देखा कि इंक्लूशन के नाम पर जो मतलब अत्याचार होता है, मतलब जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होता है, मैंने फेस किया। मैं जब वो कोविड सिचुएशन था उससे पहले मैं एक जगह में काम करता था एज ए प्रोडक्ट मैनेजर। जब मेरा ट्रांजिशन हुआ उसके बाद मुझे जो फेस करना पड़ा जो जेंडर आइडेंटिटी के लिए, उसके बाद मुझे ये काम छोड़ना पड़ा क्योंकि मेरा मेंटल स्टेबिलिटी पूरा खत्म हो गया था। तो ये सारा चीज लेके मैंने देखा कि इंक्लूशन के नाम पे जो कुछ होता है। मैं एक जगह पर इंटरव्यू देने को गया, जब मैं अंदर गया तो हैंडशेक किया। जब उन लोगों को पता चला कि आई एम ए ट्रांसजेंडर पर्सन, जब मैं बाहर आने के लिए हैंडशेक करने को गया तो उन लोगों ने हाथ को अंदर रख दिया। इस तरह से अनटचेबिलिटी भी है इस सोसाइटी में, जहां से निकलने के लिए हम लोग सबको आना पड़ेगा। वो जो ये हिजड़ा कम्युनिटी है, ये ट्रांस वुमेन है, ये प्री ऑपरेटिव है, पोस्ट ऑपरेटिव है, ये ट्रांसमैन है, ये सारा छोड़ के एक कम्यून सिस्टम जो निकल के आएगा, तभी ये हम लोग जो नए दुनिया की सोच कर रहे हैं वो हो सकता है। अदरवाइज वो रिमेन सेम ही होगा। थैंक यू।
Thank you, Deepan. Yeah, I have my final question for Vijay Rajamalika. If you can also wind up the discussion with this issue, is that in one of your writings, I read that through your poems and writings, you want to raise the issue of not just gender equality, but gender justice. Can you elaborate on that?
What we need is justice, in fact. Like without justice, what is equality? That is the basic question we are supposed to raise, because justice will come only by what is like called as enlightenment. And for enlightenment, what we need is, which is something written called literature. And in literature, what we face is like today we have the mainstream literature, which is being celebrated a lot, where they don't actually contribute or support those people who are neither male or female. Especially they don't promote writers who are non-binary. So as a writer, as a non-binary writer, as an intersex trans woman writer, what I feel is that write about your identity a lot, so that the next generation will find meaning for the letters that we have in our languages, different languages. We have lots of letters, but we don't have, like, we are not able to attach our soul with those letters. So my duty is to bring meaning for those letters in different languages, so that anyone who is queer or whatever be can attach their own soul with those letters in different languages. They can find their identity in those letters. So what I've been doing since 2016, as an established transgender writer, or established queer writer, I was always having a thrive for the so-called justice, gender justice, rather than gender equality. So I fight for that.
Thank you for those thoughts. So with this, is this working? Hello, yeah. Thank you all the speakers for your valuable thoughts. Our time for this panel discussion is over, but I'm sure the discussions can carry on as we outside or as we have lunch. And we have an amazing poetry reading session coming up, which my very dear friend Kalki will be chairing. So I would also like to thank Sahitya Academy for this opportunity. In particular, the Secretary, Dr. Rao, and Devendra Kumar Deveshji. I don't believe they are here, but I wish that we get more such opportunities. And actually, as many of the speakers have suggested, that a much deeper dialogue on what exactly is gender and sexuality diversity. This discussion has to go deeper beyond just words. the sense behind those words, the histories behind those words have to be explored, have to be talked about. So thank you very much for all your questions and for the discussion. Thank you.
Well, this session ends here. Finally, I thank Pawan Dhalji, the chair, and all the four participants, Deepanji, Gopiji, Santa Khuraiji, and Vijay Raj Mallikaji. In a next couple of minutes, we will begin the next session, which is meant for poetry recitations. Kalki Subramanyam ji will chair this session just in a couple of minutes. This session is for poetry readings, and Kalki Subramanyam ji will chair this session. I first invite Kalki ji onto the stage. Kalki ji is a noted transgender rights activist, writer, actor, visual artist, entrepreneur, and poet. Founder of the organization for transgender persons called Sahodari Foundation, Kalki is a reputed orator, a bilingual poet and writer with several books to her credit, including We Are Not the Others in English and Kuri Aruthen in Tamil. The poet participants in this session are Tista Das ji. I invite Tista Das ji onto the stage and join Kalki. Noted transgender rights activist, theater personality, writer, and actor Tista Das has the lifestyle of transsexuals and their acceptance in society as a research area. She is the administrator of the transgender community-based consultancy SRS Solutions, Kolkata, and the secretary of the NGO Darnibar Trust Voices for Inclusion. She has acted in several films, including Nari, I Could Not Be Your Son, Mom, and Achena Bondhutto. Next of our participants is Folina Chongthu. Hasn't come? Folina? Okay. Nevish will reach us soon. Nevish ji. नेविश जी प्रसिद्ध LGBT कार्यकर्ता, नेविश्वी एम्ब्रेस की सह संस्थापक हैं, जो समाज के हाशिए वाले वर्ग के बच्चों को क्वियर अधिकारों तथा शिक्षा के लिए कार्य करता है, तथा एक राह ट्रस्ट जो समाज के हाशिए वाले वर्गों के बच्चों के लिए क्वियर अधिकारों तथा शिक्षा के लिए कार्य करता है। आप फ्राइडेज फॉर फ्यूचर गोरखपुर चैप्टर के शहरी समन्वयक हैं। आपने समाज के इन वर्गों के लिए बड़े पैमानों पर शोध किया है। शाखिया एस प्रियमवदा जी, प्रसिद्ध मलयालम कवि, सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता तथा LGBT कार्यकर्ता शाखिया एस प्रियमवदा जी ने केरल तथा पड़ोसी क्षेत्र के समलैंगिक मुद्दों पर अत्यधिक शोध किया है। आपने केरल के सामाजिक न्याय विभाग के ट्रांसजेंडर सेल विभाग में परियोजना सहायक के रूप में काम किया है। Then I invite Shyama S. Prabhaji. Noted Malayalam poet and essayist, Shyama S. Prabhaji is the first transgender person in Kerala who received state transgender scholarship by the government of Kerala. She has participated in various competitions and pageant shows. She is the first person to host a prime-time television show in Malayalam, Marali Pole Manasijar, in Mangalam TV. She is associated with various government departments and agencies for the welfare of sexual and gender minorities in the state. She is the member of Curriculum Revision Committee, SCERT, and also the secretary of Quiridam LGBTIQ community. Kalkiji, the chair, and other all poet participants, I, on behalf of Sahitya Academy and all of you, heartily welcome and request Kalkiji to begin the session. Before that, I inform two of the poet participants, Mayuri Dekaji and Divya Ozaji, could not make it, unfortunately. Now I request Kalkiji to begin. I request Folina ji to kindly come onto the stage. Noted lesbian poet, writer, singer, songwriter, and an LGBTQ activist. Paulina Chongtu is actually her pen name, has edited several magazines like Miso Focus. She researched extensively on the issues regarding gender equality, feminism, gay rights, human rights, environmental issues, and queerness. Kalkiji, please begin.
Thank you so much, sir, for that amazing introduction of each poet. I am particularly very happy and honored to chair this session, especially today because a lot of new faces I see today, and that's a great encouragement. Many of them are first-time writers who are sitting, and of course, we have such diverse and experienced activists and writers like Tista here and Shyama here, who are also my friends. Tista particularly, I know her for more than 20 years, but it's only today I meet her. After 20 years, we know each other. We have talked over the phone for more than 20 years, and it's today that I meet her at this beautiful event. Poetry and art have the power to change our lives, especially for the marginalized, underprivileged, voiceless communities in the entire world, in different countries and communities of this world. The power of art to change, to empower is immense. Especially writings have changed the entire world, the history, the cultures, and all that. If you take many books have changed the civilizations of this world, created religions. Bible created Christianity, and Bhagavad Gita in Hinduism, Quran in Islam. They're all writings, and how powerful they are in shaping up human life, in shaping up religion, in shaping up our culture, in shaping up our human history, and in shaping up our entire civilization. And when we talk about revolutions, Karl Marx's book, Das Kapital, what kind of an impact it has had around the world, has changed the perspectives of so many societies, and what kind of an impact it had on social justice and social equality in so many countries across Asia, Africa, North America, and South America, and so many countries in the world. So the power of writing is so underestimated, has always been underestimated. Particularly when we talk about our state, Tamil Nadu, our former Chief Minister C.N. Annadurai and Karunanidhi, they were both writers. They were both excellent writers, orators as well, but their first identity was as a writer. And especially our former Prime Minister Karunanidhi sir came to power through his writings. He wrote the script for a film called Parashakti, which was outstanding, that the dialogues of the films were exceptional, were thought-provoking, were very rational, and which changed the perspectives of the entire society of Tamil Nadu. And the power of writing and speaking is so immense in changing a society, of course. So today we have all the new and beautiful faces here, writers here, poets here, who are going to talk about their poetry and also explain to us what does their poem mean and what does it mean to their own lives. So before that, I would also like to bring one of Shakespeare's most famous lines, to be or not to be. That's the question. So that question has always existed in all of our lives. To be or not to be alive or to be dead, to be a woman or to express ourselves or to reconcile to the society's gender conformative norms. That has been the question of all of us. But today, all of us sitting here have come out openly and proudly with our identities. And sitting here, if we have decided to fail, if we have decided to reverse, if we have decided to not come out bravely and talk about our lives, to come out ourselves openly, we wouldn't be sitting here, all of us. So that itself requires a lot of courage, and I think all of you should applaud us for that. Because it requires immense courage to be the person who you are. If you are queer, if you are trans, if you're lesbian, if you're gay, if you're intersex. So from there, I moved to Bharatiyar. Bharatiyar, the great poet Bharatiyar, he wrote in Tamil a very beautiful poem for women, but it also can recite with transgender women also. Bharatiyar said, "Kummiyadi Tamil Nadu முழுவதும் குலுங்கிட கைகொட்டி கும்மியடி நம்மை கண்டோம் என்று கும்மியடி ஏட்டையும் பெண்கள் தொடுவது தீமையென என்றெண்ணி இருந்தவர் மாய்ந்து விட்டார் வீட்டுக்குள்ளே பெண்ணை பூட்டி வைத்து வீட்டுக்குள்ளே பெண்ணை பூட்டி வைப்போம் என்ற விந்தை மனிதர் தலை கவிழ்ந்தார் கும்மியடி." It literally means the kummi of women's freedom. This was written many decades ago. And it's this poetry also very much resonates with transgender people today, and especially with trans women. I would read the translations. "Gone are they who said to women, 'You shall not open the book of knowledge,' and the strange ones who boasted, saying, 'We will immure these women in our homes.' Today, they hang down their heads. Dance the kumi, beat the measure. Let this land of the Tamils raise with our dance." So it is the same way that today we rejoice our voice. And today we all have our voices in this prestigious Festival of Letters that has been organized by the Sahitya Academy. And to begin with, I invite Tista Das, my friend and poet and actor and activist, to recite her first poem. But before that, to talk about her poetry, because it's in Bengali, and many of the poems that are going to be recited today does not have translations, except a few which have English translations. They've been written in English, like Folina's poetry. So each of you poets, I request, tell us about your poem. What does it mean to you? And then please recite your poetry. We start from Tista.
Thank you so much. I'd like to pay my kind gratitude to Sahitya Academy, because it was a very long-awaited time for me that I saw that many trans people are participating in this wonderful event every year. But as a writer, this is the first time that I got invited by Sahitya Academy. And this is the place where I can raise my actual voice. Thank you so much again. And I would like to say, poetry has a strong power to fight with the system, with any negativity comes around. And it is such a wonderful extract that can make your mind cool and your dignity more higher and stronger. Actually, being a trans woman, when I started my journey at earliest age, I saw many political issues, political fightings against trans people, along with me too. And they always tried to, they always try to kill my voice, kill my speech. And I didn't have the muscle power. I don't believe on the muscle power. I believe on the power of poetry, the power of writings. And this is the only opens of mind to fight with all odds. The first poetry that I'm going to read, it is all about a well-qualified pre-transitional elder trans man who has never got the recognition of his gender identity as man in this biased society. He was born in such a fundamentalist country where being born as a transgender person and transitioning is an offense, still date. So he had nothing but to hide his agony in himself. Very few of us got to know about the reality of the person. As time goes on, his identity crisis was beyond his capacity to hide. He was a research scholar at Bolpur Shantiniketan. When his reality was revealed to them, he was very brutally rusticated after a few days without any official reason showing to him. He became all alone that time. And I can remember most of the day he used to call me and he used to cry before me that you have achieved your goal, but I'm such a person who tried hard to achieve my goal, but I failed every day. So one night actually, suddenly I have got a call from him and he was saying with a very low voice that he used to call me my sister, beloved sister, and I used to call him my dada. And he was saying that I have no body actually, and I'll never get my own body, I know, in this cruel society. So I have decided to finish my life. And I was so stunned and I tried many ways to stop him, but I'm really unable to do that. And the most unfortunate and most ugliest thing in the community politics is that there was so many activists in Kolkata. I have nothing to say shame about that. There was so many activists. He knocked the door of the activist for the help. Nobody helped him. And finally, he took suicide. Better, he took his better life. This is a great loss of us. And this is the reality of our community in most of the cases. So my poetry is dedicated to that person. Actually, yeah, his name is Dev, Sunipa Dev, but we used to call him Dev Dada. Apurush, actually my mother tongue is Bengali. My mother language is Bengali. I'm not going to say it's my father's tongue because my father is an Oriya. So I write poetry on my mother tongue. So it is Bengali. And if there's somebody else to translate the whole poetry, then it will be better for people to understand over here. The name of the poetry is Apurush Dadatir Proti. That means a person, a man who was never recognized as a man. প্রিয় দাদা ভাই, এ নামেই বরাবর ডেকেছি তোমাকে। একযোগে সকলেই বলেছিল প্রায়, তুমি পরদেশী, তোমাকে কি বিন্দু মাত্র ভরসা করা যায়? আরো তো অনেক কিছু লাগে, নথিপত্র, আইনি পরিচয়, হয়তোবা তারও চেয়ে বেশি লাগে শরীরের অকাট্য প্রমাণ। হৃদয়ে সততা নিয়ে বাঁচা শুধু মানুষের এ সমাজে যথেষ্ট নয়। অনেকেই চেয়েছিল তাই কিচ্ছুটি না বলে তুমি একা চুপি চুপি আধুমুখে চলে যাও স্মৃতির ওপারে। নতুবা তোমার এই খণ্ডিত জীবন হতে পারে অনেকেরই পতনের নিশ্চিত কারণ। প্রতিটি বিপন্ন রাতে দিশেহারা পাখিদের মতো খুঁজেছিলে তুমি শুধু আশ্রয় যখন, দিক ভ্রান্ত ডুবন্ত নাবিক দরজা খোলেনি কোনো। সুনামি পেরিয়ে গেলে সবকিছু হয়ে যায় স্থির, চলে ফের আগের মতোই। শুধু গোধূলির রঙে ভেজা রেলপথ জুড়ে পড়ে থাকে ছিন্ন ভিন্ন তোমার হৃদয়। পরাজয় ক্ষত. Actually, this is the reality of our society. When the death of a trans person, nobody bothers around. Nobody. And the person can't create any history, can't create any. वो जो बोला जाता है ना, एक गाना है, एक कहावत है, इट्स माय फेवरेट गाना कि नम गुम जाएगा दुनिया ये बदल जाएगा, लेकिन मेरी आवाज ही पहचान है. एंड दैट साउंड, दैट वॉइस इज द पोएट्री. हाउ मेनी poems? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tista. I think you have immortalized Dev Dada through your poems. I think that's what is so important, that the stories that have to be told, the people who have died in pain and in rejection and in acceptance, it's only us, that the transgender community, that immortalizes them through our art, through our literature. I remember when Tista was talking about Dev Dada, whom she had lost. I remember my friends Saumya, who hung herself, unable to cope with the discrimination that she was facing at home as well as in the society. And I remember my friend Maria in Kerala, who was killed, murdered by her own boyfriend. And I remember Abhinaya, who finished her own life. And I remember my friend Seema, who died of AIDS. So all these deaths, including Dev Dada's death, they all need justice. And they have not received justice till today. And these deaths did not happen due to any of their fault. It happened because they remained as they are. And it happened because of the bitterness in the society, how society sees us and devalues us and does not accept us. So I, like Trista, talk about my pain and rejection and anger. Anger has a great power indeed through poetry. So we now move on to Folina, who is going to read the next poem. Folina Chongtu is a keen poet, writer, singer, songwriter, and an LGBT activist, illuminated to tell stories about the purges of life and nature. Folina writes and preaches about romance, tragedy, gender equality, feminism, gay rights, human rights, environmental issues, and about embracing queerness and the struggles that come with it. And Folina, you're from Mizoram? Yes, and Folina is from Mizoram, and I'm really proud to introduce Folina because people from the Northeast do not get enough representation, and it's really wonderful to see Folina here from the queer community. I invite Folina to read as poetry.
Thank you so much. My name is Folina Tsongtu. And first and foremost, I would like to extend my gratitude to Sahitya Academy for giving me the opportunity, and all of us the opportunity, to be on this stage today, and the community as a whole, because it's not every day that our community gets a representation like this. And first and foremost, I would like to read my poem. It's called The Pervert. It's like in our community, in the LGBTQI community, we are like, how do I say it? We are not considered normal, even though we are just as normal as you and I, just as normal as everyone else, but we are not considered normal. Our kinds of relationships are considered, how do I say it, dirty, and it's considered like taboo. So I wrote a poem based on that, and this is about someone who committed suicide. It's not exactly similar, but like yeah, it has a ring to it. So I will read it out. My first poem, The Pervert. She was a pervert who stared at beauty, She was a lute who loved the touch. Rebellious yet sensational, she had eyes only for her kind and loved the care of another woman. To family, she was a sinner. To society, she was a disgust. They preached to her of unacceptance. Who could choose the birth of one's own? She sat by the banks and pulled the trigger. They found the note, lengthy and queer, read it one by one till the paper right. One of those lines they cursed upon. My life is a black book of condemnation. I am a pervert who never chose to love her. My life is a black book of condemnation. I am a pervert who never chose to love her. The golden path was just too pure. The gates of white were shimmering. The bullets carried her impalpable ashes. To her, death was peaceful. To the world, she was a pervert who died. This last line. To her, death was peaceful. To the world, she was a pervert who died. This is my first poem.
Give me the poem also, no? Just a few lines. The first one, no? First one. Thank you, Paulina, for those beautiful lines. Especially, I would say, the golden path was just too pure. The gates of white were shimmering. The bullet carried her impalpable ashes. To her, death and peaceful. To her, death was peaceful. To the world, she was a pervert who died. I think these last four lines were really glowing the reality of our community. Thank you for your amazing poem, because it talks about how we see ourselves and how society sees us. What made you to write this first poem? I mean, it's so powerful. And you could tell me what made you to write that poetry.
No, there's no specific incident, but I've heard many people from our community committing suicide because they feel like they've been pressurized and not accepted. So it happens only not only in India but all over the world because they can't accept who they are, because from the beginning, like since we were young, we were told that only two genders exist and we can only love opposite sex, but that's not how it works. That's not how the world works. That's not how we work. That's not how our heart works. So depending on that, we have all this insecurity and feeling that we are not good enough, we are not loved enough, or we are not accepted enough, and that gives us pain and struggle, and we feel tormented. So many of us, of the people from our community commit suicide because of this. So I wrote this poem back in 2015, I think, in ode to the people who have lost their lives because of their struggles. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulina. And that coming from Mizoram, from your land, is so beautiful. I think we need more representation, more writings, and more literature, especially queer literature from your state. Thank you for that beautiful poetry that spoke about reality. And we should all clap for Paulina. Thank you. And our next writer, our next poet is Shakia. We have Shakia here. Shakia works as a project coordinator at the Department of Social Justice, Kerala, with the welfare scheme implementing for the transgender people. He's a poet and a writer in Malayalam. Some of his works have been published in some magazines, many magazines, and still continuing, Shakia still continues to write powerfully. Shakia actively participates in queer cultural politics, especially is very active in social work also. So I invite Shakia to read his first poetry. But before that, would you talk about your poem and also like what made you to write the poem and how impactful it is?
Namaskaram. Hi, everybody. It's a honor to be here with all of the queer people who struggled and come and sitting here about our lives. I can start with a word in Malayalam, ലളിതമായതൊന്നും ലളിതമായതല്ല, which means the things you see simple is not that simple. And the journey was not that simple. Um, the most struggling part of a queer person is once you coming out as a transgender, intersex, whatever, LGBTQ, in the spectrum of wherever you are, that is a continuation. You have to come out every day with everybody. You have to explain what you are to everyone, whoever you meet, whoever you introduced with. So the most difficult part is I actually convinced almost everybody, my friends, my teachers, the society, the persons I met, but I was not able to convince or make understand my mom what I become or what I am. So that made me write these sentences. I don't know, can I call it a poem? But this is an explanation to all the mothers who are actually know everything, but they are compelled to pretend that they are not understanding. So let me read first and go with the things. Dearest Amma, I have also become a transgender, crossing many woods and mountains. It was from an innermost cave within me that I heard the echo of the word transgender. Transgender is a name of a group of people, of those who cut away the long tresses, the name of those who shaved away the darkest of beards, the name of those who dug 6 feet under their own feet to learn transmigration, the name of those who threw away their names and initials to not transmigrate, but to migrate to one's own self. It is the name of those who molded the identities you ascribed. Not ended. It is the name of those who molded the identities you ascribed, and of those who dance hooded in the new found self-realization, transgender. Dear Amma, for your daughter who died even while she is alive, there is no resurrection as Son of God. This is a continuation. There is no another from here. Let me be myself in myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakia. I think mother is the most important person in our life, and her support for all of us, whether you're a lesbian, queer, whether you are a differently abled, disabled, transgender, or anyone. For all of us, people who are misunderstood, who have been marginalized by the society, the one important thing that for all of us is love. That will give us the power and the hope to live our lives. And that love should definitely come from mother. The mother's love has immense power to sustain our lives. I've written in Tamil also about Amma, mother. A transgender child begging for acceptance from her mother, who shuts her doors. It's so important to get acceptance from your own family than the society. if you're getting that acceptance from your family, then there is nothing like that that saves you, that protects you, that safeguards you, nurtures you, and then that makes you, empowers you into the personality that you want yourself to be. When that is missing, you become a beggar, sex worker, and you become your body becomes a subject of exploitations by not just anybody outside, not just men and women out in the world, but from your own transgender community as well. So you become an exploitation of money, of power and everything, of course, of sex and all that. Our next poet is also from Kerala, Shyama Mole. Shyama is an activist, a writer, and is a many personalities. She's actually many firsts, I would say. She is the first transgender person in the state of Kerala who received state transgender scholarship by the government of Kerala, of course. She's a postgraduate in Malayalam language and literature, and she did her master's in education from Government College for Teachers Education from Thiruvananthapuram, and she also qualified for UGC NET in Malayalam. She is the secretary of Queer Rhythm, the LGBTQI community organization, and has been the project officer of nation's first transgender cell established in Kerala. During the 5 years of her work, she coordinated and channelized and facilitated state policy, the Transgender Welfare Board, and also many transgender welfare schemes to ensure the empowerment of the community of Kerala. So her life and enduring struggles influences a number of community members to survive and to show the world that they can succeed in life. And I'm, like all of you, I'm also very enthusiastically looking forward to Shyama's work of literature, her poetry. And now I invite Shyama to present your first poetry. Before reading your poem, can you tell our audience what does your poems mean and what made you to write that?
Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. I'm very happy to be here to participate in this event. And special thanks to Malligechi for referring my name to the authorities. So these are the occasions where we can express our feelings, our situations, especially literature is the only medium to express our feelings and the problems that we are facing from the society. So we are surrounded by diverse people actually. So whether it is a male, female, transgender, or a non-binary person, whatever, whoever. So all the persons are diverse, and all the thinking and the experiences are different. So here I am speaking about the diversities. So even the diversity that exists with the trans people is seen in many ways. The community is forced to present things only with the labels of masculinity and femininity. So all are things, receiving things and expressing our feelings in binary. That means both with masculinity and femininity. So there are concerned that these people are stepping up to the fringes of consciousness. So misogynistic comments and behavior from individuals who were born as a girl and suffered constant hardship because of it is a cause of concern. So especially such things that arise after achieving the desired identity in the life. So I am concerned about that type of masculinity which showing within our community. Persons, I'm not telling all of them are showing that kind of toxic masculinity, but some of them are showing that kind of masculinity. The last month, the India's first trans man pregnancy happened in Kerala. There are many of trans man individuals who are showing that kind of masculinities in their social media platform. Whether where they can express that kind of masculinity, they showed it in a negative way only. So that makes me very uncomfortable actually. So we are people, things we need to think the things beyond that kind of binary, masculine, toxic masculinity or femininity, so whatever. So a poem related to the said topic is presented here. The name of the poem is Links of Continuity. ഭൂതകാലത്തിന്റെ കയ്പുനീർ ആവോളം നുകർന്നതല്ലേ, ആരോ വരച്ച പെൺവരകളുടെ നിരയിൽ നിർബന്ധപൂർവം നിരത്തിയില്ലേ, ദിനംപ്രതിയാളുന്ന ഓർമ്മപ്പെടുത്തൽ നീ പെണ്ണാണ്, അടക്കവും ഒതുക്കവും വേണം നീ പെണ്ണാണ്, പെണ്ണിനെ പൊതിയുന്ന വിലക്കും വിരുദ്ധതയും ആത്മാന്വേഷണത്തിൽ അറിഞ്ഞതല്ലേ, മിണ്ടാവ്രതത്തിന്റെ നീറ്റുന്ന ഇന്നലകൾ ഇത്ര വേഗം നീ മറന്നുപോയോ, പിടയുന്ന ആത്മാവിനുള്ളിൽ വേദനകളുടെ നിശബ്ദ സാക്ഷികളായവർ, ദ്വന്ദ്വ നിർമ്മിതികളെ ഭേദിച്ച് സ്വത്വാനുഭൂതിയുടെ ആഴം അറിഞ്ഞവർ, ഇന്നിതാ ആണഹന്തയുടെ വസൂരി പടർപ്പ് പോൽ പെണ്ണത്തത്തെ ഇകഴ്ത്തുന്നു. This is the poem that within a short span of time, I just wrote all the two poems because as Kalki already said, I was appointed as the project officer of the state transgender cell in 2018. And during that years of my work, I am completely busy with the these kinds of policy implementation activities and other things, which all the things that I am done, done during that time only with the focus and empowerment of the community. So I'm very happy to be here and very happy to present these kinds of poems here. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Shivana. I think that's a very beautiful poem because we don't talk about within our queer spaces and queer literature. We don't talk about the toxic masculinity and the toxic femininity that exists in our community as well. Because I think when we talk about toxic masculinity, I think many of us within the trans community, trans men also think that being a male is about controlling women, is about making their partner cook for them. It's about beating them. It's about smoking a cigarette, drinking, and that's what is masculinity is about. And within our trans women community, there is this perception that if you are a woman or a trans woman, you should know how to cook, you should stay at home, you should have your long hair, you should know how to make rangoli and kolam and all these perspectives, you see. So these are toxic masculinity and femininity that actually comes from the mainstream society. It actually comes from patriarchal societies that we live in. And we are also, from the trans community, we are also corrupted because of this toxic masculinity and toxic femininity that exists very much in our society. I remember I also wrote a poem. It's called Half a Woman. I wrote a poem. It's called Half a Woman. It's actually in Tamil. It's a very, very short poem. I'd like to read that Half a Woman from poem 143 of my book. It's a conversation between two transgender people. Half a Woman. It's a conversation between two transgender women. Hi, Dee. Do you know how to cook? I don't know. Goodbye. Dee, can you draw kolam? Rangoli? Don't know. Sorry, I don't know how. Koti, what do you know then? I laugh. A sari looks beautiful on you than a t-shirt and a jeans. Why don't you wear it daily? I don't know how to wrap a sari. Goodbye. You don't know anything. What do you know, huh? What do you know? You call yourself a woman. You don't know how to wrap a sari. Laughed by my Gurubai fondly. Gurubai is my transgender sister. If this, and this is what strictly defines me as a woman, as a Tirunangai, as a Mangalmukhi, as a transgender woman, as a Hijra, then I am not the one. I shall remain half a woman. That is the poetry. So that is very much aligned with Shyama's take on toxic masculinity as well. So we'll come for a second round of poems. This is the first round of poems. Yeah. We'll come for the second round of poem later. But before that, we have Nevish to introduce. Nevish is a leadership and mindful trainer, holistic counselor, and gender educator. They are a firm, Nevish goes by the pronouns they, them. So they are a firm believer in equal rights for all and gender justice. They are the founder of We Embrace Trust, a nonprofit that works on human rights, animal rights, climate justice, using intersectional lens of feminism. They're also the co-founder of Ek Trust, which works on queer rights and education for children from low-income households, and city coordinator for Fridays for Futures Gorakhpur chapter. And whatever Nevish writes, they believe they are trying to pour the emotions on paper through their words and language. So here they are, Nevish. And Nevish, you're from Uttar Pradesh, no? Proud to actually listen to your poetry, waiting for it. Would you please tell us what you're going to speak about, especially your poetry, and what it actually means to you?
Thank you. So I'm a Nevesh, and my pronouns are they, them, and I'm a non-binary person. ये जो कविता है इसका शीर्षक शुक्रिया है, और इस कविता को लिखने का मेन पर्पस था जो हम एक जो रिलेशनशिप होता है, एक प्यार जो होता है, मेरे जितने भी कविताएं वो प्यार पे ही होती हैं. तो हम जो हमारा जो कम्युनिटी है, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम क्या होता है, लोग आ नहीं पाते हैं सामने, तो ब्रेकअप्स हो जाते हैं, और उसके बाद से जो लर्निंग होती है जो उसके ऊपर है कि क्या सीखा हमने, और कमिंग टू द बीइंग इन द प्रेजेंट एंड फोकसिंग ऑन दैट. तो दिस पोएट्री इज शुक्रिया. ये हिंदी में है. वो मदहोशियां वो खुमारियां इश्क की, वो मदहोशियां वो खुमारियां इश्क की, वो नशा उसके इंतजार का, वो उम्मीद उसके अनकहे इजहार का. वादा किया था उसने आएगा वो, पर वो ना आया. हारा ये दिल पर ये लव मुस्कुराया. उफ उफ ये सूखे और बेजान लब हमारे, पर कयामत है उसके जिस्म का वो हिस्सा जिस पे अब हक नहीं हमारा. जिसे चूमा करती थी उसकी माँ बचपन में, और मांगती थी आयतें और मांगती थी दुआएं, आयतें पढ़ पढ़ के. हमने भी मांगी कुछ दुआएं उसके हक में, हमने भी बांधा कुछ लम्हों को कच्चे धागों में. उस पीर की मजार पे बैठे हुए सारे फकीर मुझे जान गए, और मेरे हक में दुआएं पढ़ने लगे. या तो दम ही नहीं हमारी दुआओं में, या तो वो बस शायद नाम का खुदा है, या तो उसे बस फिक्र है अपने नुमाइंदों की, या तो उसकी रहमतें उसकी शानशाओं पे फिदा हैं. मेरे चेहरे पे पड़ती ये झुर्रियां, मेरे इंतजार की इम्तिहान बता रही. हम दोनों ही तन्हा थे, वो थाम सकता था मुझे, मेरी बाहों में समा सकता था. फिर हम चल सकते थे सपनों की उस दुनिया से जहां से कभी लौट के ना आते. पर ये सब तो फिजूल है, क्योंकि अपना भी तो कुछ असूल है. जब नक्शे अदावत पे कदम रखा उसने, तो रुख उसका करना हुक्म रसूल है. मगर हमारी कुछ तस्वीरों को महफूज करके रखना हमेशा अपने पास. हमेशा अपने पास. जब भी उठेगा सवाल मुझ खाकसार का, तो दिखा देना मेरी तस्वीर उन रसूल के काफिर बंदों को. देखकर मुझे किसी ने भी बेनजीर कहा, तो समझ जाना तुम्हारा महजूज होना नापाक है. तुम्हारी नमाजें तुम्हारे मुंह पे मार देगा वो महशर के दिन. वैसे तो अपनी नजर में हर नुमाइंदा ही हयात है, पर मुझसे रिश्ते निकाल के मेरी नफ्स को असहज ना करना, मेरे फसाने इस दुनिया को ना सुनाना। वैसे तो अपनी नज़र में हर नुमाइंदा ही हयात है, पर मुझसे रिश्ते निकाल के मेरी नफ्स को असहज ना करना, मेरे फसाने इस दुनिया को ना सुनाना। बेतकल्लुफी से 2 फूल मेरी कब्र पे चढ़ा सको तो चढ़ा जाना। हमने अपनी दुआओं में याद करने होगा तो याद कर लेना। हमारी 4 दिन की जिंदगी में कुछ पल आपने खुशियों का भरा। आपकी इस मोहब्बत का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, शुक्रिया, शुक्रिया।
Thank you, Nevish, for those beautiful, beautiful poetry. Would you talk a little bit about what made you to write this?
So I was dating a person, and he came. He told me that he's bisexual. He's not going to be with me. He's not. His family is not going to accept. And then it made me. He gave me so much foul एक्सप्लेनेशंस कि ऐसा हो सकता है, वैसा हो सकता है, ये होगा, नहीं हो पाएगा, कुछ नहीं हो सकता, मैं नहीं छोड़ सकता घर, मैं सिंगल औलाद हूँ अपने माँ बाप की। 50 उसने एग्जांपल्स दिए। सो ऐसा समय आया कि आई वाज लाइक इन डिप्रेशन फॉर 3 years and I was suicidal. Everything was going on a lot. So the poetry which helped me a lot. So at that time I have written this poetry in 2018.
Thank you, Nevish. One synonymous thing that I see among all of us writers and poets from the queer community, especially from the LGBTQI community, is that we bring our pain and our stories through our writings. Especially poetry is such a powerful medium through which we document our pain precisely and powerfully. And there has been nothing like telling that in your own language, whether it's Tamil or Bengali or Hindi or Malayalam or Urdu or whatever. And that is so beautiful because it stays on. You're gone, but your literature stays on forever. And it also documents the stories, the histories of our lives, of lives that have been underprivileged, of lives that have been voiceless, of lives that have been underestimated, and lives that have been stigmatized. So we now move on to the second round of our poetry recitals. And this first person who is going to read the second poetry of his is Shakia. You ready?
Okay, let me start. I'm a little nervous. Okay. So this is the second session. I'm concluding my session. So first of all, I want to thank you, Malliga Chechi, Vijayaraja Malliga, Malliga Vasandam, which means the spring of jasmine of Kerala. That is Malliga Vasandam. In every community, in every place, when people get chances to be represent somewhere, they won't allow others to come forward. But she's an exception. She's giving such a wonderful opportunity, and this is one of my childhood dream. I don't know. I was used to tell my mom, one day I will be in Kendra Sahitya Academy and will sing a poem. And I don't know, I become a good writer. I did something with my works, but I'm here because of Malliga Chechi. Thank you so much. And it's an honor that inspiring friends like Anas and my colleague, dear Shama S. Prabha, all are there. Thank you, everyone. Being a trans man, everybody is asking why you left your womanhood behind. Is that because of the privilege you get more from the society? So I just want to tell everybody, because of what privilege getting men are becoming, transitioning to trans womanhood. The same is here. I lost many of my privilege, become a trans man. And we cannot explain each and every aspect of life, what we met, what we faced through. And the end of the day, when I look behind, I don't know, some of my family is there and my brother came here to see me. My cousin is here. I never changed. I was there as my pet name is Paru. Everybody calling me is Paru in my home. I never spoke lies because my mother taught me don't tell lies. I just hided myself. I never lied. I was trying to be genuine. But one day, that very, what to say? That one day was my very insecure day. I become no words. I'm just cutting the topic. Yeah, I'm coming through. So in the LGBTQ community, everybody can relate people with their love expression, their sexual orientation, and next only they can identify or relate with the gender and all. We all faced cheating. No? We all got cheated for love. We all got hurted with love. We burned with love. We have scars of love. So not me, the poet or the writer, asking the time to give another lost love, to realize who I was, today who I am, and who I would be. This is a poem in Malayalam, that's why I'm little translating. And becoming a transgender or coming to the identity, it's a spiritual thing, like a self-actualization point, like what happened to Buddha, like what happened to Christ. I don't know who else actualized their selves. So when I myself, I can explain first with every dimension, every spectrum, every transgender person is experiencing. First, me might be gender non-conforming persons. We might be lesbians or gays in our sexual orientations, or bisexuals, or sometimes we don't have genders, we are non-binaries. And the journey come and we actualize somewhere and standing for us and ourselves. So let me go through my words, poem. ഒരു നഷ്ടപ്രണയം തരൂ കാലമേ, ഒരു നഷ്ടപ്രണയം തരൂ, ഹൃദയത്തുടിപ്പുകൾ മരണം തൊടുമ്പോഴും ഒരു സ്നേഹഗാഥ കുറിച്ചു വയ്ക്കാൻ ഒരു നഷ്ടപ്രണയം തരൂ. പ്രണയം ആർദ്രമായി വിടരുന്നതെങ്കിലും ഇടറുന്നതെവിടെയും ഹൃദയമല്ലേ. പ്രണയം ആർദ്രമായി വിടരുന്നതെങ്കിലും നിറയുന്നതെവിടെയും മിഴികളല്ലേ. ഒരു ദുഃഖബാണം തരൂ, ഇനി എനിക്കൊരു ദുഃഖബാണം തരൂ. ചിരിയെത്ര സുഖമെന്നതറിയുവാൻ കരളിൻ്റെ നെറുകിൽ പതിച്ചു തരൂ. ചിരിയെത്ര സുഖമെന്നതറിയുവാൻ കരളിൻ്റെ നെറുകിൽ പതിച്ചു തരൂ. നീ എന്റേതല്ലെന്നതറിയുമ്പോഴാണല്ലോ ഞാൻ നിന്റേതു മാത്രമാണെന്നതറിക. നീ എന്റേതല്ലെന്നതറിയുമ്പോഴാണല്ലോ ഞാൻ നിന്റേതു മാത്രമാണെന്നതറിക. ഒരു നഷ്ടപ്രണയം തരൂ, ഇനിയൊരു പുഞ്ചിരി തരൂ, ഇനിയുമൊരു പുഞ്ചിരി തരൂ. എന്റെ നഷ്ടങ്ങളെ കുറിച്ചോർക്കുമ്പോഴണിയുവാൻ ഇനിയൊരു പുഞ്ചിരി തരൂ. എന്റെ നഷ്ടങ്ങളെ കുറിച്ചോർക്കുമ്പോഴണിയുവാൻ ഇനിയൊരു പുഞ്ചിരി തരൂ. ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ അടയാളമണിയുവാൻ അറിയുവാൻ ഒരു ബോധിവൃക്ഷത്തണൽ തേടവേ. ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ അടയാളമണിയുവാൻ അറിയുവാൻ ഒരു ബോധിവൃക്ഷത്തണൽ തേടവേ. ഒരു നഷ്ടപ്രണയം കൂടി തരൂ. താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച്. താങ്ക് യു ഓൾ.
Thank you, Shaki. You made the poetry into a beautiful song and very heart-touching, of course. Thank you. And we have around 20 to 25 minutes more. So each one of us here will actually go for the second poetry of theirs. I begin with Paulina again. Would you talk about your poetry and then read your poetry, please? And tell us what made you to write it.
Okay, my next poem is I Am. I wrote this before I came to Delhi, just before I came to Delhi, like a 5-minute scribbling. So it's kind of a short one, but I want to have a special request. I have brought along a companion who is an Indian Sign Language interpreter from Mizoram. Yes, I want her to interpret my poem because poetry is an art, and in order to extend art to a wider audience, you have to have certain representations. So yeah, yes, Miss Rodilal Tanzwale. I will stand here, and I would like to say something short. Before, I didn't say that. I haven't said that I have participated in Sahitya Academy programs back in Mizoram. Maybe 1 or 2 times I have participated in poetry programs, and it was really good back then. Also, it was back in 2018, 2019, with Patunga University College, and we had really good times. There were many budding poets back then, and I used to be among the budding poets that they would call for poetry reading, and it's a privilege. And I want to thank Ma'am Santa Kurai for referring me to this program today. Okay, my poem is I Am. Faces, faces that deceive, faces that lie, faces we see are but masks of the truth we deny. I am the silent thrum of a dying cicada, the wing of a bird that never flew. In my world, love is a last word, where being who I am is disgusting. I am a torn page in a book, the silent tears of a soaked pillow. I am the crime you hide in your closet. My nails are bleeding from the scratches. I am a rejected lone wildflower, a moral joke made by a passerby. I am a rejected lone wildflower, a moral joke made by a passerby. When all I want is to love and be embraced, to be just like you, or maybe more. When all I want is a hand to hold and a face to gaze at as I whisper, I do. When all I want is to be invisible in your sickened eyes. Is that too much to ask? Thank you.
What's her name? Miss Reddy. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rodhi, for your beautiful translation of Paulina's poem into sign language. And thank you, Paulina. That was really a powerful poetry. Thank you for reading that. And we are moving next to Tista, again from West Bengal, who is an activist. And as I have introduced her work a lot, Tista will now talk about her poem and what made her to write poetry, this poem that she is going to read the second one. And we're ready to listen.
Actually, poetry is not out of the reality. Everything in poetry or literature comes from the real life experience of everyone. The pain, the passion, the love, everything. So if we want to do the poetic justice to the poetry, so we must say about life and reality. In most of the cases, when we talk about love, we limited that powerful thing into genders, in basically two genders, man and women. And we really, in this society, we don't like to believe that actually love doesn't happen between two genders. It happens between two souls. And this is not only the thing that if somebody ditched me, if somebody leave me alone in this world, that means my valuable life has been ended and we have to kill ourselves. This is not at all the solution. Rather, I'd say that you have to stand alone for yourself. You have to learn how to love and respect yourself. That is very much essential to stand with your dignity. There is nothing equal to your dignity. So this poetry is to empower all those couples all those broken couples actually, who thinks that the partner is the only success of key in their life, but not. You are the person who will decide the way of your life, and you are the only one who will define your life. So the poetry is actually named in Bengali is Anari, which means foolish. ভুল হয়ে যায় এখনো আচম্বিতে. One more thing I'd like to say that in this poetry, I correlate the real characters with two Greek mythological characters. One is a very prominent character, Orpheus, and the one Greek mythological character, Eurydice, and they were in love. And after the death of Eurydice, Orpheus went to Sargalok to bring her back to life. But in reality, it doesn't happen in couples. When we see a few minutes back, Kalki was saying about somebody else whose loved one has killed her. So we don't expect this. This is not love. Taking revenge is not love. If somebody wants to go away, let him or her go away. Somebody really is waiting for you in future, and you don't need to run after the butterfly. Let the butterfly come to your end to kiss your feet. So let's go for the poetry. ভুল হয়ে যায় এখনো আচম্বিতে, তবু অতল তোমার স্পর্শ পাবো বলে নিবিড় জলে দুহাত পেতে আছি। হাতের প্রতি শিরায় উপশিরায় গড়িয়ে যাওয়া স্বপ্ন কুহক যত, পেরিয়ে গেলে মুগ্ধ চোরা গলি, হৃদয় জোরে প্লাবন জাগে হু হু। প্রতিশ্রুতির আরক্ত সংলাপে এসেছিলে তুমি অরফিউসের বাঁশি। আস্তিনেতে লুকানো তীক্ষ্ণ ছুরি দেখতে পাইনি ইউরিডিসের চোখ, চলেছিল তাই মোহন বাঁশির টানে। এইবার তবে অন্য গল্প হোক। এলো সে লগন দুজনেই কাছাকাছি, দক্ষিণা বাতাস হরষ জাগালো হৃদে, নিকষ আধারে থেমে গেল পথ চলা, আচম্বিতে ছুরি ঢুকে গেল পেটে। পড়ে আছে প্রেম মৃত্যু লোকের দ্বারে। পৃথিবীর যত ইউরিদিকেরা শোনো, তোমাকে ফেরাতে আসেনি অরফিউস। বৃথা বিশ্বাস করেছিলে বোকা মেয়ে, ভেবেছিলে সেই তোমার জীবন সুখ। ওই সব প্রেম ছিদ কথা জেনে রাখো, নিজেকে খানিক সম্মান করো যদি, তবে ভালোবেসে নিজেরই সঙ্গে বাঁচো। Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you, Tista. I think your explanation about the poetry resonates with not just all of us sitting on this dais, but all of you sitting as audience. We all have at a point of time, or even now, we might all have broken hearts and broken lives. And it could come from the most loved person in your life, whom you had loved so dearly, whom you have given your heart. That person is also the person who gives you the most pain, of course. Love gives you the most beautiful pleasure. At the same time, it could also give you the most horrible pain, of course. It doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, or transgender, or intersex, or whoever. The pleasure that we experience in love and the pain that we go through when it breaks up and it shatters our lives is the same that we all go through, because we are all beyond our bodies and our genitals and our organs and how we identify in the society with our gender. We are all humans with blood and flesh and feelings and emotions, and a desire for love and acceptance and respect in the society. And nothing can say that better than poetry, of course. And this poetry that Trista recited today is not only for LGBTQI or trans or anybody, it's for all of us. And it comes with hope also, that love doesn't happen with just one person, as it's shown in the films. Love can be multiple. Love can be beyond gender. Love can be beyond sex. Love can be beyond identities. Love is beautiful and amazing and pure. And what is not amazing and what is not pure and what cannot be recognized and what cannot be accepted is hate. The hate that comes with fanaticism and narcissism and all those bigotry that we face today through women oppression, through caste oppression, through Dalit oppression, through LGBTQI oppression. Love is the only answer and acceptance is the only answer. And love can be not just romantic love. It can be the love between two friends. It can be the love for poetry. It can be the love for art. It can be the love for changing someone else's life and giving them an opportunity. Like what my friend Santa Kurai and Malika actually did. They gave new poets, new writers opportunities, referred them and brought them here. Isn't that beautiful? That we change, we recognize someone's talent and push them for opportunities. So such is the power of love and dignity and respect for each other. And we now move on to Nevish to read their next poetry. Nevish, would you also talk about the introduction about your poetry and what it's about?
So first of all, I would like to thank everyone who has been the part of this event. And what this time Kalki talked about love, that is the all essence of this poetry. So I don't need any explanation to give. This is all this poetry is. So its title is Prem. Again, it's in Hindi. जब भी कोई प्रेम लिखता है या विरह की वेदना को व्यक्त करने की कोशिश करता है, जब भी कोई प्रेम लिखता है या विरह की वेदना को व्यक्त करने की कोशिश करता है, तो वो खुद को कभी ना कभी उनमें शामिल करने की भी कोशिश करता है, ताकि लोग जब उसे पढ़ें तो हमेशा अपने आप को उन प्रेम की कविताओं, कहानियों और उपन्यासों में ढूंढ सकें। उसकी कोशिश रहती है कि वे अपनी उन बातों को लिख सकें जिसका जिक्र उसने कभी किसी से ना किया हो, ताकि जब कोई उसे पढ़े तो डूब जाए उन पंक्तियों के बीच, महसूस कर सके अपने माजी के छुअन को, उन खुमारियों को, भागे उन एहसासों के बज़्म में और फिर वो शामिल हो जाए मोहब्बत की पैरवी करने वालों की कतार में। बात जब सिर्फ दो जिस्मों के प्रेम की हो और वो दो जिस्म स्त्री और पुरुष हों तो हमें कोई आपत्ति नहीं होती। हम उसको ग्लोरीफाई करेंगे, रोमांटिसाइज करेंगे, हम उसे प्रकृति का सच मान लेंगे। और इस क्रम में जरा सी भी हेर फेर हुई, जैसे कि उन दो जिस्मों के बीच में वो दो जिस्म महिला महिला हों, पुरुष पुरुष हों या दो किन्नर हों, या बात दो जिस्मों की ना हो करके उससे ज्यादा जिस्मों के प्रेम की कहानी की हो, या फिर वो जिस्म आपकी पूर्णता की परिभाषा में फिट ना बैठे, तो फिर वो इश्क, प्रेम, मोहब्बत आपकी टीस बन जाती है और आपको आपके प्रेम की परिभाषा से परे प्रेम की परिभाषा के लोगों से कोफ्त होने लगती है। फिर आपको उन लोगों से घिन आने लगती है। आप भूल जाते हैं अपने प्रेम को, अपने माजी को। आपको बस याद रहती है आपकी नफरत, आपकी जलन, आपके दिमाग के कोने में बसी कहीं वो असफल गंदगी। आप भूल जाते हैं प्रेम में सफल अपने दोस्तों को। आप भूल जाते हैं उन दोस्तों को जो आपको फोन करके घंटों रोया करते थे। आप भूल जाते हैं रजिस्ट्रार ऑफिस में आपकी गवाही के हस्ताक्षर जो किसी को प्रेम को सफल बनाने के लिए आपने किए थे। आप भूल जाते हैं अपने वादों को कि आप राखी में किसी के घर जाएंगे क्योंकि उनका धर्म अलग था, उसके भाई नहीं आते। आप भूल जाते हैं। आप क्यों भूल जाते हैं? उस लेख को, उस प्रेम को, उस समर्पण को, उस भाव को कि प्रेम तो बस प्रेम है ना, प्रेम तो जीने की बात है ना, तो जी लेने दो।
Thank you, Nevish. The power of poetry and how poetry can bring the power of love into our minds, into our ears, and into our minds, and into our hearts, and that resonates with all our lives, whether you're a man, woman, or trans or intersex. The power of love is immense, and I hope all of you could resonate with that. And with that, we move to the final section of the poetry reading from Shyama, who is going to read her second poem. And I hope you would also explain what you're going to recite and what made you to write the poem also.
My next poem is Moonlight, that articulates the politics of existence for many people who survive adversity and thrive. So a lot of changes have come in the society, but even today, there are some people with us are facing many difficulties from each of the social institutions, existing social institutions. So those who cannot even be seen during the day and who shelter and enjoy themselves only in the arms of the night. So it is doubtful if anyone else has enjoyed the beauty of the night as much as we have. So the stars that come to tell the story at night, the pain of the belly that gave birth, and various other thoughts like, so it is in the night that the earth becomes a baby to lay on my female cheek. So the poem, Moonlight, Nila Velicham in Malayalam. വിശപ്പ് മാറാതെ മരിച്ചു പോയൊരു പകൽ കിനാവ്, തലോടി തീരാതെ ഉറങ്ങിക്കിടക്കുന്ന നിറമില്ലാത്ത പാഴ്ക്കിനാവുകൾ, നീലരാത്രികളിൽ എന്നും കഥ പറയാനെത്തുന്ന നക്ഷത്ര കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങൾ, മണം തീണ്ടാത്ത ഒരു വസന്തകാലത്തിൽ പെറ്റ വയറിൻ്റെ വേദന ഇടയ്ക്കെപ്പോഴോ ഉന്മാദമായി ഉയർത്തെഴുന്നേൽക്കുന്നു. ലോകം ഉറങ്ങിക്കിടക്കുമ്പോൾ മാത്രം ആർക്കോ വേണ്ടി ആടുകയും പാടുകയും ചെയ്യുന്ന മിന്നൽ പിണറുകൾ, ഒറ്റയ്ക്കായൊരു തെരുവ് വെളിച്ചത്തിൽ നീലമഷി കൊണ്ട് പടരാതെ കണ്ണെഴുതുന്ന പെണ്ണൊരുത്തിക്ക് ഇളം ചൂടുള്ള കവിളിൽ ഒരു ഉമ്മ വയ്ക്കാൻ ഭൂമി ഒരു കുഞ്ഞാകുന്നു. താങ്ക് യു സോ മച്ച്.
Thank you, Shyama. Nila Velicham, the moonlight. Moonlight is so romantic, of course, all of us know. And your poetry is so beautiful, like the moonlight. Thank you, Shyama. And this session has been really awesome, and I hope you all enjoyed it. But we have, I'd like to talk about the clap that our transgender Hijra community makes. As you all know, for begging, they clap. For getting attention from people, they clap. To show their happiness and excitement, they clap. And the mainstream society has such stereotypes and notions and fears and transphobia on a transgender person. But above all, there is this superstitious belief that if a transgender person blesses, you're blessed, and if someone curses you, you're cursed. You need to, I would say that you just need to see it from a very human and scientific perspective. But clap is something very powerful, not just because to get money or to get the attention, but it can also be a sound. A clap itself can be a voice, of course. With the conclusion, I would like to read the poetry about the clap. This time, our transgender community is actually going to clap and ask the society certain questions. And you're also going to join with me to bring that clap. I'm going to read a poetry. Now it's called, in Tamil I wrote, Ongi Kaitattu Tirunangai, means clap aloud Tirunangai. Tirunangai is a term like Mangalmukhi, transgender, Hijra. In Tamil we call it as Tirunangai. I would say Tamil is one of the oldest languages in the entire world, like Hebrew and Sanskrit. But Tamil is very, very modern as well, because there's no other language in the world which gives so many respective terms for the queer community. So I'm going to read this poetry, clap aloud. So at the end of every stanza, you would be clapping 3 times, and all of us also. Clap aloud, Tirunangai, clap aloud, like a crack of thunder that shakes the world during a great rain. Clap your hands aloud. Thank you. The foolishness of the fanatics who subjugate women in the name of religion. And the foolishness of the fanatic who subjugate the women in the name of the religion. And clap aloud, clap your hands, clap, 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 to cry aloud, down, down, down. The culture corpse, down, down, down. Clap. Drum a drum, oh my girl. The greedy ones who cheat the poor farmers and rob them of their only lands to build multi-stories in the tiller soil and sell them for a price so high till their eardrums tear off and hang out. Clap aloud, transgender, clap aloud. These hands, my Tirunangai, these hands that clapped for money till now, let these hands, Tirunangai, these hands, let them clap to ignite the fire. Let them clap to burn the heckles and mocking. Let these hands, my Tirunangai, let these hands that clapped for money, let these hands clap into the rhythm of joy. And which one clapped in the festivities of happiness hereafter. May these hands open books with a new heaven, with a new hope to empower oneself. Let these hands crack the whip to strip injustice naked, and may these hands, my Tirunangai, these hands, join the palms to accept the honor garlanded on grand occasion of the learned gatherings. These claps are not just for asking money. These claps are against the injustice. Please clap. Thank you. This session is, I hope, has enlightened all of you with our writings and our literature and our thoughts. And I would like all of you to give a standing ovation for many of them are first time for poets. Please do. Thank you.
It was indeed an amazing session. I heartily thank all the poet participants and Kalkiji who chaired this session so wonderfully. And I'm really happy to announce that Professor Kumud Sharma ji, Vice President Sahitya Akademi, is here with us, who attended the entire session. I request Vice President to kindly say a few words finally at the end of the session.
सम्मानित मंच और इस सभागार में उपस्थित विद्वान मित्रों, मैंने पूरा सेशन तो नहीं सुना, अभी थोड़ी देर पहले ही इस सभागार में पहुंची हूं, क्योंकि लगातार एक साथ 3 सेशन चल रहे हैं, सब जगह होना संभव नहीं होता। लेकिन जब मैं यहाँ पहुंची तो यहाँ कविताओं के रंग बिखर रहे थे और बहुत ध्यान से मैंने सुना और मुझे लगता है कि जितने लोग यहाँ उपस्थित थे वो इन कविताओं की अंतर्वस्तु में जो संवेदनाएं थीं, जिस तरह से यहाँ उन संवेदनाओं में तनाव के तंतुओं को खोला गया और उससे हमारी साझेदारी जिस तरह से हुई, वो मेरे लिए बहुत अद्भुत अनुभव था। मैंने पहले भी आप लोगों की कविताएं पढ़ी हैं वेबसाइट से ढूंढ करके, क्योंकि विश्वविद्यालय में पढ़ाती भी हूं, तो हम बहुत सारा रिसर्च इस संदर्भ में करा रहे हैं और मुझे लगता है कि जिस तरह का साहित्य निकल करके आ रहा है आप लोगों की तरफ से, उस पर लगातार संवाद होने की संभावनाएं हैं, उस पर लगातार संवाद होना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये वो समय है कि अब हम समन्वय, सर्वसमावेशी प्रकृति के हम लोग हैं और हम लगातार इस तरह की चेतना को हम जगाते हैं और इस दिशा में इस तरह के जो सेमिनार हैं वो जागरूकता, अवेयरनेस और संवेदना जगाने का काम करते हैं और साहित्य अकादमी आप सबको बराबर इसी तरह से आमंत्रित करती रहेगी, मंच देती रहेगी और हम सब आपकी संवेदनाओं के साथ साझेदारी करेंगे और मानवीय सरोकारों से हम जुड़ेंगे। इसी के साथ मैं यहाँ अपनी वाणी को विराम देती हूँ और आप सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सबने यहाँ सुना, उसके लिए भी सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
It's a great opportunity for our community especially to bring our voices. This is Vijay Rajamalika, Kerala. She is also
एक सबके साथ ग्रुप फोटो हो जाए, जितने पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं हमारे। हाँ, और कम रह गया। आगे आ जाइए, आगे आगे एक ग्रुप फोटो हो जाए। हाँ, इधर इधर पॉलिना प्लीज आइए, इधर आइए, इधर 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 इस तरफ आ जाइए, यहाँ यहाँ आ जाइए। हाँ, इधर इधर ठीक से यहाँ यहाँ। हाँ हाँ हाँ, सब लोग आ रहे हैं। क्या कुछ लोग बैठे हैं।
Thank you, sir.